We are going to go ahead and begin our regularly scheduled city council meeting. So we want to thank you all for being out here. So it is September 3rd. Appreciate you coming out on a Wednesday with the holiday this week. And again, it is September 3rd, 2025, just after 6 p.m. So we will begin this meeting with an invocation offered by Mr. Jim Porter. Appreciate you, Mr. Porter, for doing that, Pastor Porter. So if you'd all please stand for that, and then please remain standing afterwards for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Father God, we thank you for this day, this place and time. Thank you for your goodness to Caldwell. And as a community, Father, we pray that we would seek answers not from a position of grievance or complaint, but that we would seek workable and wise decisions for the well-being of our city. Thank you for these that serve us so well. We pray for your blessing on our community, Father. Keep us safe. Watch over our first responders as they were honored tonight, Father. Protect them. They have a very difficult job to do, and we appreciate them so much. Father, for all these things, we give you thanks. We pray this in your name. Amen.
Amen. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, Pastor Porter Emeritus. So appreciate all that you do for the city and for us. Okay, Madam Clerk. Oh, sorry, should give me a little more time. If you could please call the roll.
Councillor Doty.
Here.
Councillor Static.
Here.
Councillor Register. Here. Councillor Williams.
Here.
Councillor Allgood.
Here.
Councillor Dittenberg.
Here.
Very good. Thank you so much. All council members are present and accounted for. Are there any conflict of interest declarations from any members of the council regarding an item on the agenda this evening? Okay, very good. That'll move us into our special presentation. So we do have one special presentation that we wanted to make tonight, recognizing Mr. Mark Hilty and the entire firm of Hilty, Bauer, Haas, and Sable for their years of service as the Caldwell City Attorney. So Mr. Hilty and his firm was the city attorney for 26 years here in Caldwell. So I wish I could say I was just a little kid, but I was already out of high school. I'm getting older on that. But Mark is an amazing individual and his entire firm, and so we just felt it was very appropriate that we would honor him and recognize him and again his firm, because I know it takes a team, and Mark could be the first to say that. And so a lot of history and a lot of late nights and long talks, and I know I took advantage of that the 4 years that I've had to work with Mark on that, and appreciated his counsel and his advice, and a very sage and very wise individual, and as smart as he is, he's an even better person, and just appreciate just his heart and his heart for Caldwell, even though he doesn't live in Caldwell. We won't hold that against him, but his heart truly was in Caldwell, and he saw us through so many years of downturn. It was a big part of the revitalization of Caldwell, saw us through the late 90s, early 2000s with the daylighting of Indian Creek, and I'm sure there was countless hours and nights spent working with Mayor Nancolis, who wished to be here tonight. I know that he has those same thoughts and desires as well to recognize you. So Mark, do you mind coming forward to the microphone for just a minute? No pot shots, I promise. So we would love for you to maybe just take a moment, then also to introduce your staff that is here. So.
Good. Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Council. I'm humbled and really grateful to Mayor, to you, to the council members, the staff, and anybody else who had the thought that maybe I should be recognized for what I've done. And that gratitude extends back to people who sat in those seats, well before you, to Mayor Nancolis, and to great staff that I've had the privilege of working with here over the years. When I started in April of 1998, I didn't know what I didn't know at the time, and the city took a pretty big chance on me. I didn't have municipal experience, and I came in as the city attorney at that time, and I learned on the job, and appreciate the faith and trust that has been put in me over the years, including by those in leadership now. I was joking with Oscar before this that it feels a little bit like a Lifetime Achievement Award, which is a little bit of a mixed bag. But the truth is, I'm at the point in my career where I'm excited about the situation that I'm in with my staff and my partners and what's going on in my law firm now. And I'm excited about the future of my practice, but I do a fair amount of looking back too. And what the place that Caldwell will have in my career, as I look back on my career, whether that's now or in the future, is profound. And I've made the comment to many people that the vast majority of people that live in Caldwell today don't know what it was like in 1998. I know a lot of you do, but most people don't. I think when I started, the population was 23,000, and now you're what, Mayor, 80? And so, am I out of time? And I certainly don't take credit for what's happened in Caldwell, but it was sure fun to be part of the team. And so I'll be eternally grateful for that. So thank you. Oh, and I am going to introduce those that came tonight, but really have enjoyed getting to know Oscar. Nice hire. He's going to do a good job for the city, take care of him and give him the reins that he needs and listen to the advice that he gives, because you've got a good attorney, and he's got a good heart for doing the right thing. So I commend you for that selection and that appointment as well. First, my wife, Melanie, is here. Thank you, Melanie, for all that you listened to over the years and put up with, and all those meetings that I had to attend, and for all the solo parenting that you had to do at times. My partner, Aaron Sable, and Aaron's wife, Marcia. There was a time when Aaron did as much work for the city as I did, and he kind of moved on in his practice some time ago. But for those of you who don't know Aaron, he's got deep Caldwell roots as well, not just in the legal part, but the family as well. Taylor Yett, associate attorney in our office, who started with us about 3 years ago, but has done a lot of work, with the police department, emergency services in particular. And then Brent and Debbie and LJ and Jim, I mean, some of the other folks, I don't know if you're just here for me, but it's been a pleasure working with you guys and watching what we've been able to accomplish in Caldwell. So with that, I'm going to stand for questions.
Very good. So no questions tonight, but so just really quick. So Aaron, as I refer to him, Dr. Sable, he does have a doctorate. He says, be careful when you say that in public. People might actually think I am a doctor and ask for some medical advice. But Aaron and I went to high school together, and he does have very deep roots here in Caldwell. And I remember many nights getting to sit next to him when I was the planner for the city, and enjoyed those opportunities to reminisce a little bit and look back on our days on Caldwell and kind of where we were at and where we are now. And so it's just really fun. And again, just appreciate that. So yeah, so we do have this plaque. It does say, so it says, in recognition of 26 years of outstanding service to the city of Caldwell, serving as the city attorney, Mark Hilty, Hilty, Bauer, Haas, and Sable, thank you, and the law firm for the many years of dedication and commitment. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Mayor.
We'll get Aaron and Taylor to come up as well. Thank you again for allowing us that opportunity to recognize Mr. Hilty and his firm, and again for his many, many years of service to the Caldwell community. And it's good to see LJ, our former finance director. I'm not sure if he's here for you or not. I know Brent is working tonight. I know his name is on a case later on, but Brent also worked for the city for many, many years. So thank you again for everything. We really, truly do appreciate it. And again, a huge thank you to your wife. I know that can be very taxing. I know my wife as well. It almost falls more on their shoulders, it seems, than ours. And so without that support, we couldn't do the things we do. So thank you so much to you as well for that. Okay, so with that, we do have one other special presentation. This is for the Local Highway Technical Assistance Council. I see many of our wonderful yellow shirts in the audience from our street department, so we're excited to recognize them as road scholars and master presentations. So I will turn the time over to you, right there. Perfect. Very good. If you could just tell us your name, and then maybe talk a little bit about what is a road scholar and the program that they have to go through to receive these awards.
So my name's Lisa Popoff. I'm with LTAC. Thank you for allowing me to be here tonight to present these awards to your staff for their outstanding achievements. And again, yeah, like you just mentioned, Mayor, I will talk about the program a little bit. So LTAC's mission in general is to advocate, support, and train all local highway jurisdictions within the state. Our program is offered in the form of classes, the training part of it. The classes are held throughout the state, generally in the fall and the spring. The classes we offer cover a wide variety of topics, including safety, professional development, and the vast majority of the classes are construction and maintenance techniques. So most of the courses have a passing score on an exam to pass the class. We want to make sure that your staff are well trained when they come back to work and bring their knowledge back. So there are 2 levels to our program. The first one is the Road Scholar. It includes 80 hours of instruction, 7 core classes, 4 electives, and each student has 4 years to pass this level. The second level is the Road Master. This builds upon materials learned in the Road Scholar program, and it includes, again, 80 hours of instruction, 4 core classes, and 5 electives. And again, each student has 4 years to pass this level. We also offer one more program. It's the Leadership Development Program, and right now we have 6 classes there. So tonight I'm here to present Road Scholar Awards to 6 of your staff and Road Master Awards to 3 of your staff. The Road Scholars tonight will get a certificate, a hat, an engraved Leatherman tool, and the Road Masters will get a Carhartt jacket and a certificate. So with that, if you guys wouldn't mind coming up, the Road Scholars are Roger Hasselbeck, Dan Gowans, Gage Calloway, Jarrett, I might say this name wrong, Materi, Rafael De La Garza, William Moore, and then the Road Masters are Cresta Smout, Sean Torres, and Stephen Tracy.
want to thank LTAC for all that you do and for this program. And it's so great to recognize these amazing individuals. Our street department is incredible. And I think we need to call the College of Idaho because they tout how many road scholars they have. We just got 6 tonight alone. So we need to make sure that they're aware of that. And I think it's so fitting, too, that Cresta is here to receive that master presentation. Because Cresta, and I know that the gentleman would agree with this, she is the glue that keeps everything together down at the street department. She's absolutely amazing in everything she does. And they are one amazing outfit. They are like clockwork down there, the way they do things and how hard they work, and just they do an amazing job. So thank you so much to all that you do and to keep our city running. Very often the unsung heroes of the city is our street department. We need them every day. We don't realize it until we have something to complain about. And just thank you so much for all that you do, and congratulations to receiving those awards. Well deserved. Thank you so much. Okay, and that will move us into audience participation. And we do have several people signed up. However, there was a number of them that did indicate for the Caine Center. And since that is on the agenda this evening, audience participation is only for those items that are not on the agenda. So Scott West, Dave Marco, I believe, and JT Schramm had signed up for the Caine Center, the Caine Center. So you'll be allowed to speak on that when we get to that point in the hearing. So we're not going to not allow you to speak, but just audience participation is only for those things not on the agenda. That is the first item under new business, so you'll be able to speak at that time. So we do have a few others that have signed up. Patricia Paz, I believe is the name. Is Patricia, maybe Patricio? Okay, and then Del King as well. Are you Patricio? Oh, Del. Okay, so do you mind coming forward? And then you'll have 3 minutes, so.
Thank you all for your service. I had to write this out, about what happened, how it affected me, and what I would like from you. And this is regarding excessive construction noise. Early on the morning of Sunday, August 17th, a crew of about 10 men with huge commercial construction equipment began arriving on the street across from my house at 2301 Ray Avenue in Caldwell. Large trucks with wide trailers, a wood chipper, and multiple high-powered saws and tree cutters. They were there to remove a large portion of a well-established tree in front of my neighbor's house at 2304 Ray Avenue. The all-day project was extensive, the sound unbearably loud, with multiple high-powered machinery operating at the same time, and it was totally abusive. I am an 84-year-old woman living peacefully alone in the world with my domestic animals. But on this day, the unrelenting high-volume sound vibrations from the equipment being used had a frightening effect on my psyche, scrambling the neurotransmitters in my brain, prompting a fight or flight reaction, leading to a total meltdown. With increased heart rate, I erupted in outrage, so unlike me, screaming like a banshee at the workers across the street from my front yard. By midday, I was practically hysterical with nowhere to turn. I dialed 911. I felt like a fool, knowing the police had more serious matters to attend to. But an officer responded by phone shortly after to say he had spoken to the crew across the street and that they would be done by the end of the day. It was nearly evening when they finally were gone. A few days later, I visited the Caldwell Police Department, where I learned that there is no city ordinance in place restricting this kind of monumental project, not even on a Sunday, a well-established day of prayer. In order to protect the nearby residents when this sort of project is allowed to happen, I am requesting the City Council of Caldwell to put in place a city ordinance that would require commercial projects of this magnitude to have a permit and at least a 24-hour notice given to nearby residents so that we might be prepared or be gone when the project is to take place. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We really do appreciate that information. And so it's always, we appreciate the suggestions
Would
as
you
well.
like to have this?
So if you would like, you can provide that to our city clerk, so she can make sure that
Thank
gets
you.
into the record. So, and thank you again for taking the time to come down and let us know those concerns. So you did an excellent job. Very much appreciate that. Okay, well, thank you again. And as mentioned, those other three is in regards to the Caine Center. You'll have a chance to speak on that when we get to that item. And that is all for audience participation. So with that, on to the consent calendar, and I know that we do have some amendments for that.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilor Doty.
make a motion to move consent item number 5 to new business for further discussion and add action items number 8 and number 9, considering an amendment to the fiscal year 2025 budget.
Very good. Do we have a second? So it's a motion from Councilor Doty and a second from Councilor Stoddard for amendment to the agenda as noted. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So that motion passes. Do we have a motion to approve the consent calendar as amended?
So moved. Second.
So that's a motion from Councilor Stoddard and a second from Councilor Doty to approve the consent calendar as amended. Any discussion on that motion? With that, voting is open at this time. And all votes are cast, the voting is closed, and that motion does pass unanimously. So there is no old business, so that'll move us right into new business. And is there anyone here for that number 5 that got moved down, staff, that we should take it up first so they don't have to sit through the, or what's that? Oh, Captain Rosen? Okay, let's go ahead and take that up so that way Captain Rosen can get on with his evening. So we will go ahead and hear that item first. So this is, again, it was consent item number 5. This has been moved to the new business. So this is for approved resolution authorizing the acceptance of a quote and multi-year agreement in the budgeted amount of $1,872,809.07 for purchase of Axon body cameras, tasers, and drones. Captain?
Mayor,
Oh,
Mr.
yes.
Mayor. Yeah, I just wanted to kind of preface this. I was the
Yes.
one that asked to have it off the consent calendar. This is a really big deal. It is not only a big deal money-wise, but it puts our police department in the absolute cutting edge of crime fighting. And I'm sure Captain Rosen will do a great job talking about it. I felt like it was too important to just leave on the consent calendar. I wanted people to hear about it. And so I appreciate the police department coming forward and letting us know. I think the captain got thrown under the bus because I spoke to the chief and the deputy chief, and he's here, so. But thank you, sir. Appreciate it very much.
Yeah.
Thank you, Councilor Allgood. Mr.
Captain.
Mayor, can we queue up oh, look at that, awesome. Mr. Mayor, Councilor, all the council members, I'm here to share with you, hopefully, something you've seen before. Hopefully this is not new, because as Councilor Allgood said, this is truly state-of-the-art technology. It's cutting edge. I am extremely passionate about this type of technology coming here. I don't want to cut into too much of the presentation. It's very short, so I will not bore you, I promise. I anticipate answering a lot of questions, but I will say I'm proud to share with you tonight that the city of Caldwell and the Caldwell Police Department is the first department in the state of Idaho to be bringing this technology to police departments. So I think if we just use that as a reference point as we go through this, it will really just help prove what we want to do here. Just keep pushing the bar, keep making this place safe. If we can go to the next slide. So what are drones? So drones are a piece of equipment that is flown by an operator. These are unmanned. These do not require people to be inside of them. They're flown like a remote control. These are not new to Caldwell or the Caldwell Police Department. Drones have been here with the police department for some time. What's different about the DFR drone, which I'll refer to during the presentation, and the drones that we have, is we can now fly these drones out of line of sight. So there's technology built into the drone, there's training, it's computer aided, that we can now, with FAA approval, fly these drones where we can't see them. Right now, we're restricted
with the drone capabilities we have, just to fly line of sight. So that's the biggest difference. And I think the second thing that it's important to share is our intention in using these drones is not for surveillance. The purpose of these drones is to provide situational awareness to our teams to be able to either slow things down or speed them up when we're talking about police response. It's a primary de-escalation tool. That's a topic and a way of thinking in policing that is industry best practice. And what that means is we can use a tool from a safe distance to get a read on the situation we're being called to, and that will help formulate our decision on how to respond. So if you're talking about, a situation where we could potentially avoid a fatal officer-involved encounter with the suspect on either side, this is a drop in the bucket for what that does for policing services as a whole. Next slide, please. So I kind of covered what is the DFR. It's a docked drone positioned on top of a city building. There'll be 3 throughout the city. The idea here is that a drone can be deployed from one of the 3 docks and get anywhere in the city within 90 seconds. So who is going to be monitoring this drone? Our intention is that while the rollout will be slow at first and controlled only a limited number of people while we figure out exactly how we're going to use it, our drone will be part of the real-time crime center. So also in the real-time crime center, we'll be looking at calls for service coming in from dispatch. We'll be watching body cam also through Axon, and we'll be watching the response to calls in real time. That'll give us the ability to provide additional oversight, and like I said, either speed things up or slow them down. Next slide, please. So in most cases, the drone, through the DFR technology with Axon, will arrive at the scene before any human beings get there. Obviously, that's a huge benefit for our line of work. We don't want to walk into a situation blind. We want to see what's going on. And there's spillover between the police use of drone first responder and the fire service. We've partnered with the fire department, shown them the technology, and our plan, while still in the infancy stages, is to partner with them and allow them to use the technology for response to fire scenes too. So there'll be a pilot, and we're focused on safety. We want to enhance the decision making, and we want to de-escalate. Those are the key pieces of why we want this to be deployed here. Next slide. Some of the things that come to mind where it would be beneficial, obviously, a fight, right? If a fight is in progress, we're sending officers, but we want to have a vantage point, a tactical advantage before we get there. We want to understand what we're walking into. Similar with a pursuit. Everyone here is familiar with how dangerous police pursuits are. And with DFR technology, we can actually lock onto a vehicle, disengage marked units, and safely follow a vehicle to a more advantageous time to take that person into custody. We want to get to a place where we can eliminate the risk to the public and to our officers by no longer needing people to be in pursuit behind vehicles. I'm really proud of that technology. That's going to impact us greatly. And I think a staggering statistic that really kind of sold this for me is we looked at the International Association of Chiefs of Police, or IACP. They did a study, and in 24% of drone first responder calls required no officer to respond. So I see a public benefit in that, because we're not telling the public that we're not going to these calls. We're still making a response. However, we're not using human officers to go. We're going, we're taking an assessment, we're seeing what's going on, and we're closing that call while still accepting that call from the public. So they still get the benefit of police service. However, the sworn staff and officers and CSOs who are out there can be doing other things. What does that do for us as an organization? Our deployment. I'm proud to report that a recent crime data analyst the weekly update showed a 12% reduction in year-to-date crime. And for the first time in several years, our proactive response to calls outweighed the reactive. So we're now almost 60% proactive and somewhere around 40% reactive. So the table's turned. So that puts us in a better position to serve. This is a key component in that. Next slide. So this is a piece that I think is incredibly important, a transparency portal for the public. So what we're looking at on the screen is actually what the public will be able to log into through Axon and take a look at our flights. Each flight, when it leaves a dock, it starts recording. Similar to how we record on a body cam, the flight is recorded, it's documented, and it's retained in evidence.com, the same platform where we keep our body-worn camera evidence. In the transparency portal, there's a route. We have the ability to mark things as private if it's related to an ongoing investigation. If there's things that we don't necessarily want to share because it's case sensitive, those things can be filtered out. But all in all, each flight is logged, and we'll be able to share with the public. We'll be able to log in and say, hey, I saw something flying over my house at 5 o'clock in the afternoon on a Tuesday. What were they up to? You can click on it and see, hey, they went to a mental health call. The drone flew for 7.5 minutes. Here's a route, and it came back into the dock. Next slide. So I think this is important. It kind of shows our thinking. I talked about a rollout plan. It's broken up into 4 phases. Each one is laid out with different goals and waypoints. But first, what we're working on right now is finalizing our policy. Fortunately, there's other agencies across the world and nation who have done that. We're going to use Lexipol, come up with a policy. There'll be some language that's similar to our license plate reader technology for use and access. Phase 2, like I mentioned, a limited deployment. So we'll have a small group of people trained. We'll be testing the rollout, providing updates to council as needed. We'll do a constant assessment evaluation in phase 3, bring some stats forth, prove that it's worth it. And then phase 4 will be a full implementation where we have staff assigned to the Real-Time Crime Center operating this equipment. And eventually it'll be around the clock. But right now it'll be just a 10-hour shift during peak hours. Next slide. Oh, that's it. Mr. Mayor, I'll stand for questions.
Good, thank you so much. Any questions? Councilor Static.
First of all, people are going to ask taxpayers, is this going to reduce our staff at all as far as officers on the street? Considering the 24% number that you gave.
Mr. Mayor, Councilor Static, thank you for the question. I think that the public should know that we plan to use DFR as a force multiplier. We don't know, it's new, it's too new to understand how it will, if it will replace anybody or not. My intention, like I said, is to use this to bolster our staff. There's no plan to have any positions frozen or withheld because of the technology.
Okay, the other question I had on the lighter side is you're guaranteeing us that the information will not be used by the county appraiser, Mr. Stender, to raise our taxes if we had a garden shed, right?
I stand and I promise.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Councilor Register.
Yes, I just have a couple of questions. So kind of going along with what Councilor Static was talking about, how many officers do we have licensed right now to fly drones? Do you know?
Yeah, so our drone program right now, Mr. Mayor, Council Register, is we have, like, the line of sight drones that we have.
Sorry.
No problem. We have 3 drone pilots, but they're all in ancillary duties. So we don't have any full-time drone pilots. They're all certified, the 3 that we do have, but there's no permanent staff where their only job is to fly a drone. Everything that they do is an ancillary duty.
So for this, would the officer have other duties, or would they just be flying drones?
Well, Mr. Mayor.
Or have you not quite gotten that far yet?
Well, in my mind, I envision a time where we have a full-time staff assigned to the Real-Time Crime Center. But we're a small agency, we're growing. Right now, it'll just be an ancillary assignment until we can secure funding to add the personnel that we need to run it as a full-time position. So there'll be multiple people trained. I also envision a time where, we're training majority of our staff to be in the real-time crime center using this technology, because what we found here is that this is the most effective way to be. You'll hear Chief Ingram mention this, and I think it's powerful. Our intention at Caldwell PD is to fish with a hook and not a net. And what that means is that we want to shrink our footprint that we have on the community, because we know contact with the police for some is not great. So if we can limit that contact by using technology the right way, I feel strongly that the public will appreciate fewer contacts, that us focusing on the right people committing crime. That's the goal.
Yeah, so I guess my next question was, I like this, but the curiosity in me as far as long-term planning, how much does it cost to train each officer to fly this? Because are they considered pilots, or I don't know exactly how it works with the drone, but do you know an approximate cost of how much it costs to train people
Mr. Mayor,
or get
Council
them
Register,
licensed?
I don't have the exact cost. I will say that one of the reasons why we went with Axon is because they do provide a fair amount of training that comes with the package. But I will say that this is a perishable skill, just like driving, just like report writing, just like defensive tactics. And we take training serious. So there will always be a need to spend money at the city level for training, especially for high liability equipment and tactics and stuff.
So the other thing that I know is going to come up is Fourth Amendment violations, and because we hear it all the time about flock cameras and all that kind of stuff. So I just wanted to make sure that you had a moment to be able to really kind of hammer home that this is not going to be used for surveillance, like you said, and that we already have drones for SWAT callouts and things like that already, right? So this is another level of policing, but it is not going to be used to violate people's rights, look in their cars, look in their houses, that kind of thing. And then my other question, or my last question, is going to be with the public transparency piece, which I really like. But will it have people's addresses on there, or will it have just sort of general areas, simply because of, if you have a domestic or something like that that you don't want broadcasted?
For sure. No, Mr. Mayor, Council Register, I'm going to hit both of those, starting with the Fourth Amendment first. I think it's an incredibly important question. I'm happy you asked it. The drone will not be used to look inside people's homes unless there's an exigency. If there's a situation where there's a sniper in the high ground and we need to leverage that technology to make an informed decision, then there's exemptions to that Fourth Amendment that allow us to do so. But by and large, what we're looking at is things that are happening out in the public, where if we're just being honest, the Fourth Amendment doesn't apply. If you want to go to a city park and fire a gun off in the air, you don't have any Fourth Amendment to privacy in that space. I should note that when we were researching the technology, that when the drone is flying to a location, because of the speed, the camera is unable to focus. So what is being recorded during that flight is a blurry image. Now, when it slows down, it gets to the location, that image is cleared up. But I think the public should know that during its flight, while it is recording, we're not able to see anything other than a blurred image.
Yeah. Okay, good to know. And what about the public transparency address part?
So we can tailor what's shown. There is no specific information for identifying people that's shared. It's basically a route. So if you think about a Google Earth map, that's pretty high up, out of focus, out of zoom, just kind of shows where it was at. You'll be able to see generally where the drone went in the city, but there's no identifying information in that.
Well, personally, I like police work, and so I like whatever we need to do to make that police work more effective. For years, the last few years that I was in dispatch, officers were wanting to be able to listen into the call because they wanted to be able to hear what was actually being said instead of the interpretation that was going through dispatch and then being put into a computer and then being put out on a radio, and it was kind of like a game of operator sometimes. So I know that this is really important to a lot of officers to be able to have more of a hands-on experience before they even get there, and I think the safety part of it is really important. As long as we're, not violating anybody's rights, and I'm glad you answered that so that we can just put that to rest right away. And then I think you should have like a public naming campaign where kids get to name the drone. So,
I love that idea.
Councilor Doty.
Mr. Mayor, I'd just like to add that I got to observe the training session that we had. I believe the very first call it was launched on was a dog at large, which when you're sending officers to that, trying to find a dog trying to run down a busy street, plus they're supposed to be paying attention to their driving as well. The drone was launched, didn't find any dog, call was cleared, and no officers had to respond to that area. And so, and everything the captain's saying is true. The camera's focused up, so and it flies at about top speed 45 miles an hour. Keep in mind, an operator is not flying it, it flies itself. So you just hit the launch key and it takes off on its own and dodges. It's quite amazing how it knows power lines and everything are there. And so it flies itself. Someone does sit at the keyboard, but it literally just flies itself right to the call. So it was quite impressive, and I certainly support it. So thank you.
Councilor Dittenberg.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Captain Rose and I had the opportunity to go to the demonstration. I think Councilor Doty stole, my question. But if I understand correctly from the demonstration, is these are autonomous drones. There's nobody sitting around, playing, some PlayStation type thing, looking. You're literally watching a screen as the drone is doing its work autonomously. Is that correct?
Mr. Mayor, Councilor Denberg, yes, that's a fair representation of the technology. And I think I want to just back up to Councilor Register's comment about dispatch. And so I remembered something from a presentation that resonated with me about dispatch. And we'll be able to launch this drone as the dispatcher is typing in the call for service. So we're not waiting for the old days of details to be come up. As we've seen that call come, we can link it to wherever the computer sends it. And that's how we get that 90 seconds to any call in the city. So it's remarkable. And then, Councilor Denver, to your question, this is computer driven. There are overrides in place where you can manually fly it, but that is not, it's no longer DFR. Then it becomes a regular drone at that point.
And so, if I remember correctly, one more question, I think. We watched we watched the drone be dispatched to a traffic accident on Simplot Boulevard, and the drone dispatched itself effectively. It found the officers, it found the scene, and at some point, the operator identified that there was no additional risk, that it was a routine traffic thing, and the drone came back on its own. So it's a matter of dispatching it and saying the call is over is the primary role of the operator.
Mr. Mayor, Councilor Denver, that's exactly right. The operator just tells it when it's time to come back. There's also a mechanism in place. I should note that the computer and the drone are talking to each other. So when it's getting low on battery, if there's still a need for that drone to be deployed, a second fully charged drone will be deployed to that location. It'll take its place, and the one with reduced capacity will go back to its home. So pretty impressive tech, very user-friendly from my perspective, and the staff from CPD who was there to watch it was really excited to provide that top-level service that you're always hearing us talking about with it. So we're excited.
Councilor Allgood.
Just a couple things. The council had the ability to go out and watch this last week. That was super interesting. One of the things that I really appreciate about this thing is if an officer's on a situation, a traffic stop or some other situation where they feel like they need some oversight, they need some help, they can tap their body-worn camera, a drone can launch and cover them, so all the other responding officers can see what's going on with that officer in real time. And then the last thing is I just want to thank the captain for coming here tonight. This is exactly what I was hoping we would get. I think this is a wonderful thing, and this information is invaluable.
Councilor Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Captain, I echo the sentiments of this council. Appreciate you being here. I really have more of a statement, and I would hope that either you or our Director of Finance would correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's important that we add to the conversation that the monies being allocated for this are not only budgeted, but these are funds that cannot be used for salaries. These are funds that have to be used for capital or one-time projects. And so it's necessary for us to look at these different pots differently as we spend money. But I would add to that, it's hard to put a price tag on safety. And in my mind, this is our safety as well as the officers' safety, because these technology resources come to us in ways that create a safer environment for us and protect our officers, and it could be double this amount, and you can't put a price tag on a life. But as far as the wells go, is that your understanding as well? And Raylene, you correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, so the funding on this is a couple of different ways. So this is not just a drone program. It actually combines a couple of contracts, including tasers and body-worn cameras. And so it combines those contracts and moves it to the capital fund. And because we're combining the contract that we use for the body-worn cameras, which we used ARPA funds for, there's some remaining ARPA funds. So the first and second year portion is going to be ARPA funds, and then the remaining amount is coming out of the capital fund. So that 1.8 million is not going to happen all at once. It's actually a 5-year contract, about $330,000 a year of each of those 5 years.
Perfect. Thank you both.
Okay, Councilor Allgood, probably appropriate that you make the motion, so.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it, and I would move that we approve this. I don't know if there's any special language here, but thank you. I make a motion to approve resolution number 332-25, authorizing the acceptance of a quote and multi-year agreement in the budgeted amount of $1,872,809.07 for the purchase of Axon body cameras, tasers, and drones.
Very good. So that's a motion from Councilor Allgood and a second from Councilor Williams for approval of this resolution. Any discussion on that motion?
One thing to say.
Yeah.
I just wanted to point out one more thing. We talk a lot about officer safety, which is obviously super important, but for the public, just so that I think it's clear, and I want to make sure I'm right. Like a lot of times when we're taking a call, like on a robbery or something like that, and somebody runs out, they run out the door, and then nobody knows which way they went. They don't know what kind of car they got into. Your car gets stolen, nobody knows which way it turned, you know, even if you witness it being stolen, and that drone can be there in time to assist with locating to the point where we're not going to, hopefully, someday be losing cars and robbers and stuff like that. Right? So there's a big benefit to the community as well.
Mr. Mayor, Councilor Register, I'm going to take it one step further and just share a quick story I prepared, but I think it's timely. There was a local, not a local police department, but a police department in the region who had a drone first responder program. And as the program was rolled out, they had a call early on. It was a call for service from a local gas station. Someone from the gas station called and said, there's a man with a gun standing out in the gas station. So obviously that triggers a certain level of response. The officers start going. Someone keys up and remembers that this department has a drone first responder. The officers stage nearby. The drone gets overhead, finds the suspect who is holding a gun. The drone zooms in on the suspect. The operator is providing an update on description and location. Then on the camera, out of the end of the gun is a flame, and the person lights a cigarette. So what do we have? A successful deployment and de-escalation. It's keeping people safe. That was pretty powerful to me because I've been in that situation. I've gone to those calls a number of times in the 2 decades I've had this job, and that is a success story we want to replicate here because that keeps people safe. And yes, in conjunction with DFR, some of the other technology that I've really championed for, and I thank you all for supporting, like our flock cameras, that is how we shrink the time to bring people to justice who choose to terrorize our community. And we'll continue to do that with this tech.
Very good. Okay, so we do have a motion on the floor for approval. And it might be, do we have it up? Are we able to do it on here? So very good. Thank you so much. Excellent job. So again, the motion is for approval of the resolution. So with that, voting is open. And all votes are cast, so voting is closed, and that motion passes unanimously. So thank you again so much, Captain, for that presentation. I'm excited to get those employed and get them out there on doing that. So, and you're free to leave and enjoy the evening, so thank you so much. Okay, so we're going to now move on to our first action item listed on the agenda. So this is an annexation request and a preliminary plat and a special use permit as well. So with that, Joe, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. My presentation will not be anywhere near as cool as drones. Do apologize for that. You can give some to the planning department. I'll take them. That'd be awesome. So this first project tonight is going to be the Caine Center. It is annexation and preliminary plat and an SUP as noted. The P&Z recommendation was for denial on the project back on July 9th. Their reasons for that recommendation of denial were the following. General incompatibility with nearby single-family development, school capacity impacts from multifamily development, traffic generation and impact from multifamily development. They had some issues with the proposed fuel tanks as discussed by a neighbor who I believe is here as well tonight, and then just non-compliance with code as there were multiple things at the time that the applicant did not meet with the plans that were submitted. I'll go into a few more details on what has changed since then too. Just to take us back to where this is though, it is at the southwest corner of Homedale on Montana. It's approximately 13-acre site. Has frontages to Homedale on Montana, as well as a cross-access agreement at the very southeast corner to the local street of Bayou Way. That plat for Arrowleaf subdivision, or Heartleaf I think is what it's out on the ground, has a cross-access agreement already on the plat. As far as approved developments in the area, there are several, most notably number 7, which would be the Rubina Ranch directly to the west. I won't go through each of those lists, but there's a number of single-family majority developments within the area. As far as conditions surrounding the site, the project is currently surrounded by city zoning in all directions. R1 zoning is located in the north, northeast, east, and west, which is Rubina Ranch to the west. R2 is located directly to the south of Arrowleaf subdivision. And C1 neighborhood commercial is located directly to the east at the adjacent corner, the southeast corner of Homedale and Montana. Within the noted zoning district, single-family residential is the dominant land use within the R1 there. There are also 3 schools within walking distance of the subject site: Valley View High, Valley View Middle, and the newly opened Falcon Ridge Elementary. The applications before you tonight, as noted, were annexation of approximately 13.1 acres with an initial zoning request of R2 and C1. A preliminary plat consisting of 20 multifamily lots and 10 commercial lots, and a special use permit to allow for a retail sales store with gasoline within that requested C1 district. The project was originally submitted in late 2024 while the comprehensive plan was being updated and under the previous zoning code, and at that time included more density and a comprehensive plan map amendment. So because of the weird timing of that, applicant and staff met multiple times to discuss how by the time it got in front of you, that comp plan that they were amending would no longer be in effect, and therefore it just didn't make sense to include a map amendment at all. So the applicant kind of went back to the drawing board on what their applications were going to be, and staff worked with them to make sure that it all made sense, and hence you have the 3 applications before you tonight. It was also continued multiple times through that iteration because the code changed too, right? Comp plan was adopted in February, code changed in late April, created further challenges, I guess you could say, from a drafting standpoint for the applicant, and they ended up reducing their density further. Originally when they submitted, I believe it was 170-ish units, and today it is 120 as proposed. They've also included additional landscape buffers. They had to meet new multifamily code and meet the new density bonus code, which again, I will get into more detail. For the comprehensive plan, the subject site and all surrounding sites are neighborhood 2, as you can see by this lovely boring brown map. Neighborhood 2 is the main place type within the city. It is the main residential place type within the city. It encompasses residential areas that provide an array of low and medium density housing options. Neighborhoods are supposed to be located outside of commercial centers, but should still be well connected to those commercial services. Neighborhood 2 is, again, the most prevalent place type and covers areas between these major centers, so between major corridors. These areas should develop to be highly connected and allow for a variety of housing options, not just detached single family. In general, less dense housing is found in areas further from major roadways and then would increase as you get to the intersections or towards the major roadways. Commercial services, if they are included or proposed, are low to medium intensity and are generally only found at those major intersections. They should also be highly accessible to those surrounding residential areas. Furthermore, residential densities, if proposed as a residential development, should be in the 2 to 8 units per acre gross density, unless a higher density is requested through the density bonus program, which in the neighborhood 2 you can go up to 12 units per acre maximum with the density bonus program. As far as this project, with 120 units over approximately 13 acres, give or take, the actual plat is a little less because that's right of way. They're at 9.1 units per acre. And they have requested that additional 1.1 units per acre above the 8 maximum through the density bonus program. Again, as mentioned, the applicant originally submitted under the old comp plan. The original submittal included a map amendment, etc. It has been withdrawn and is therefore no longer part of this project. Overall, as proposed, staff does find the proposed development to be generally consistent with the comp plan due to its proposed transition of commercial at the hard corner and around really the eastern and northern perimeter of the property to the medium high density residential through the rest of the project that would transition to the single family to the south and west. Furthermore, the proposed project as submitted helps meet goals within the comp plan that want to have a variety of housing options within an area and within a neighborhood, as well as providing neighborhood commercial services as well. The requests tonight for annexation with the initial zoning of C1 and R2 are important to note because C1 area is proposed as approximately 6 acres, and the remaining 7 acres would be R2. Again, the C1 is proposed along the north and east boundaries and the hard corner. C1 is, the R2 zone would be internal to the site and along the west and south boundaries. The purpose of the R2 community residential zone is to provide areas that comply with the comp plan and accommodate a large variety of lot sizes and housing types. The purpose of the C1 neighborhood commercial zone is to provide areas that accommodate small-scale, lower-intensity retail, restaurant, office, and service-oriented businesses that serve the day-to-day needs of nearby residences. The proposed C1 and R2 zones are consistent with the comp plan designation of neighborhood 2, and the proposed R2 zone matches the zoning to the south, and the proposed C1 zoning matches what is adjacent to the east. So specific development review. The Caine Center proposes the following land uses: multifamily residential within 4 plexes and 6 plexes, a gas station and convenience store, a drive-through restaurant, and then multiple build-to-suit commercial retail lots. The proposed multifamily residential land uses are permitted within the R2 zone, 4 plexes and 6 plexes. The drive-through is permitted within the C1 zone, but an SUP is required for the gas station and retail sales store. All required applications have been submitted. The proposed plat includes 33 total lots, 20 multifamily, 10 commercial, and 3 common lots. With the 20 residential lots, 22 buildings are proposed, with 6 fourplexes, and those are all located along the south boundary, and 16 sixplexes, which would be the remaining multifamily development area. And that totals, again, 120 units and 9.1 units per acre. As noted, only 2 commercial uses are proposed at this time, and those are on the north of the canal, the drive-through and gas station. Both of these areas will be analyzed in more detail at the time of future building permits for each, but initial review does show compliance with code requirements. The remaining commercial areas and lots are noted to be build-to-suit commercial lots. They're still in the C1 zone, so generally the C1 permits lower intensity commercial uses, but again, as each of those come through each user, whether they're split up or 1 building per lot, staff will analyze those as those come in, which is typical of commercial development. As proposed, staff does not see any issues with the proposed commercial area. All dimensional standards of this project have been reviewed, and the proposed project and plat comply with all regulations outlined in Articles 5 and 6 for the proposed zoning of R2 and C1 in terms of lot size, frontage requirements, lot dimensions, and building height. This picture on the left was the plan originally submitted, well, I guess not really originally, that was like version 6 at this point, but was the one that commission heard. And then the one that is before you tonight is this larger one for you. The applicant is proposing approximately 2.3 acres of qualifying open space within this development, which is approximately 17%. According to the open space requirements of Multifamily Development Code, Article 14 of Chapter 10, approximately 2 acres is required. This includes both the general 10% as well as the per unit requirement as outlined within 10-14. The applicant has complied with this following revisions between the commission and the council hearing. The new Multifamily Development Code also requires a minimum of 60 square feet of private open space, which is not calculated as part of the common open space. That's in addition to, and that can be done with decks, patios, fenced yards, etc. Something that is private to each unit. Initially, the applicant did not comply with the 60 square foot and had some that were smaller. With the revised floor plans that they submitted, they do now comply with that requirement. In addition, they complied with staff's recommendations within the staff report and revised the parking lot depths and some sidewalk widths in order to shift the site north, and have now provided the required 25-foot buffer along the south boundary where they had previously proposed 15 feet. So they've shifted everything north that 10 feet in order to accommodate the required buffer. I also wanted to note the amenities. They're proposing a clubhouse, pool, tot lot, physical fitness facilities, fire pits with seating areas, picnic area, electric vehicle charging stations, a dog park, and an internal pedestrian network that is above minimum code requirements. Just to be concise with what was revised, the applicant did reduce their density by 6 units between commission and city council. They lost one building in the center of that, in the center of the project to accommodate the central open space requirement of 10,000 square feet. They modified the site plan to comply with the 25-foot buffer, as I noted. They relocated the trash enclosures per the condition of approval away from the exterior boundary. They also added additional vegetation between the proposed commercial and residential lots. They modified the regional pathway connection along the west boundary to make sure that they have coordinated with Verbena Ranch development. They also revised the floor plans to meet private open space, and then they added additional shrubs throughout to meet the minimum density requirement in code. As noted, the applicant is proposing a residential density of 9.1 units per acre, which is above the base density of 8 in the neighborhood 2. Through the density bonus program, the allowable density in the neighborhood 2 is up to 12. Again, they're only requesting up to 9.1. This is an exhaustive list of the potential options of what they could do in 10-03-18. As far as what they did, they have technically submitted or can request 3.5 additional units per acre, and that's because 3.5 additional density bonus points have been met by providing amenities above the minimum, which is they provided 8 under the multifamily code. For this size, it would be 4, so they've doubled the amount of amenities required. They've constructed the regional pathway that was technically could or should have been part of Verbena Ranch, and they've also constructed or proposing to construct all units with a universal design. Upon review of the application materials, site plan, landscape plan, and conceptual floor plan, staff finds that the proposed plans depict compliance with the required criteria outlined within the density bonus program. The main thing that they've submitted is that universal design option, and it's important to note what that means. It means 0-step entrances into each unit. It means at least one entrance per unit, which would be the front door at a minimum. Has to have a 36-inch wide door instead of the standard 30 or 32 or whatever it is. They'd have all interior doors with 32-inch clearance, except for a door that provides access to a closet. Maximum half-inch vertical change at any threshold. Each hallway shall have a width of at least 36 inches and shall be level. At least one bathroom on the main floor has to be wheelchair accessible. And at least one bedroom on the main floor with a closet has to have closet rods and shelves that are adjustable between 3 feet and 5.5 feet. Again, as these are submitted for building permit, if this gets approved tonight, staff will verify all of these requirements to ensure that they meet what they've asked for in regards to the density bonus program. In addition, the applicant has proposed all the first floor units to be not only universal design, but to take it the next step further and do ADA compliance, which requires additional building code changes, grab bars, reinforced walls, change in heights of all outlets and plugs and things like that. Because they're multi-story buildings, or 2- and 3-story buildings, the ADA proposal does not meet the threshold outlined within the density bonus program to count towards density bonus, but it's still something that staff wanted to call out because it is something that's not as common as you would think, especially within new developments. As far as access is concerned, it has been reviewed by the engineering department, and all of the site access and utilities are available or will be available. The staff report, according to the city engineer required an update to the TIS prior to the commission hearing to reflect the changes in the site plan that have occurred over the last year, essentially, which was a reduced residential density from the original and an increased commercial square footage. The city engineer reviewed this and approved the updated TIS prior to the commission hearing in July. This project was noticed according to state statute. At the time, Valley View School District and ITD were the only agencies that have commented on this project. Valley View did not know any opposition or support, but noted future projections of elementary school enrollment numbers due to approved development may exceed capacity at multiple schools, which is what they've been saying. And all of their recent letters after the bond pass, which they say they're good now, they're just looking ahead and noting that things could change in the future. ITD had no comments except that their proposal did not trigger a TIS for their review. There were 3 letters of opposition submitted prior to the July P&Z Commission hearing, stating concerns with the proposal of multifamily dwellings in general, the anticipated increase in traffic with and without any planned roundabout at the intersection of Montana and Homedale, and issues with the proposed connection to Bayou Way along the south boundary, and I guess in general, just increased traffic from all of the development in the area. There was no additional public comment received before the city council hearing. All those were received prior to P&Z commission, at least written testimony to staff. This was a slide that I had at the commission hearing. Just wanted to note these were specific conditions that were previously in the staff report that have now been struck because the revised plans show compliance with all of these, minus the cross access, but that's just in there anyways, just to ensure that we get that with future submittals. So therefore, staff will stand for any questions that you have. If you do approve the applications, recommend that you approve it subject to the findings of fact, conclusions of law, and order of decision.
Very
Thank
good.
you.
Councilor Doty.
Thank you. So on the TIS, referencing the packet that we received, is the TIS under Exhibit 2 been updated, or is that the updated TIS? Because it still shows a D and an F for traffic in that area. So is that the most current updated TIS?
I believe it should be. If not, that is my fault for not putting that updated one in
I'm
there.
just making sure if it's been updated, did it change from a D and an F, or is it still a D and an F?
I'll let the applicant will know that for
Okay.
sure, and
All
I'll
right.
let him tell you if it's failing or not.
Perfect. Thank you.
Councilor Dittenberg.
Thank you. A couple questions. First of all, if we can go back to the site plan picture, or maybe that one's a good one, and let me see if I can get it on my screen here. My first question is with the drive-through that's there. So is this a drive-through for sure? Is this just a wishful thing? And let me clarify my question. If it's a CVS pharmacy, I think the drive-through's fine.
Right.
If it's a Dutch Brothers, I think you will wish that you put it somewhere else.
Sure. Fair question.
So what do we know about that drive-through?
Council, Councilor Dittenberg, Mayor, as far as I understand, and the applicant might be able to speak to this a little bit better, the anticipation is not a Dutch Bros, thankfully. However, drive-throughs are permitted by right within the C1 district, and so any drive-through theoretically can go there so long as they're meeting all of their dimensional standards as well as the specific use provisions, which does require minimum stacking, minimum parking, all of those things. I did not analyze it in detail because we don't know if it's going to actually end up being a drive-through. And my point being that it's C1, they could show it as a drive-through here. If it goes as a lesser intense use, let's say not a drive-through, it's still permitted by right. They can submit a building permit later on and call it good.
Because further along the same lines, you're making a hard right-hand turn into Homedale, off of Homedale into a parking lot, and then you're making a hard right-hand turn there. I would hate to see vehicles stacked there on a busy road. Is that a fair comment? And does that kind of tie into with Councilor Doty's question about the updated traffic impact study?
Sure, Councilor Dittenberg, absolutely fair question. I think that makes a lot of sense. And with the updates in code that we had in April, we tried to help mitigate some of those potential issues of you can't block these types of things. Obviously, things happen in real life. Code is code, right? But upon review, we would always try to do our best to make an applicant ensure that we have the most stacking possible. But again, it's not 100% guaranteed that it would be a drive-through, but it is permitted within that zone unless council has enough heartburn about it. You can add a condition to it that they cannot do a drive-through. That is always an option for council to do if it is of that high of a concern to council.
Okay. So my next question then has to do with right in, right out. And a lot of our discussions we've had about things like this where it looks a little congested, we've talked about right in, right out. And so if you are making a right out onto Homedale, there is a roundabout in this little plan. Who is building that roundabout? Is the city building that roundabout, or is the developer building that roundabout?
Councilor Dittenberg, Mayor, Council, it is going to be the city. And my understanding from the Public Works Director is that we're in the way of designing that next year and constructing that as soon as possible.
Well, is there any chance that Ms. Hart can weigh in on this, or do you even
Sure.
want to? If this is a 3 or 4 year down the road project, are we putting the cart before the horse with the development?
Councilman Dittenberg, council members, we, as Joe mentioned, we are beginning the design of this roundabout now. So we are budgeted to be able to complete the design this upcoming fiscal year, 2026, and then typically we will follow with the following year of construction.
Okay, I think that's all for my questions. Thank you.
Councilor Allgood.
Councilor Dittenberg stole some of my questions here.
No problem.
And Ms. Hart may be able to answer this. When I was looking at what you have up here on the screen, Joe, I was concerned about all these driveways stacking up against this roundabout, because we have the residential driveways, then we have the commercial driveways, go around the corner, we have the same thing on the other side. I assume that proper distances from intersections and proper separations between these entryways are in place. It looks
Councilor
like a
Allgood.
lot in a close space, just looking at this map.
Right, totally fair question. Councilor Allgood, Mayor, I will let the city engineer talk about that.
Councilman Allgood, because of the constraints of the site with the Phyllis Canal located where it is, we did work with the applicant and with the traffic engineer very closely in determining proper placement of these access points. And we did have the traffic engineer analyze traffic points. They are less than what our typical access point spacing would allow for. But again, because of the current restraints of the site with the Phyllis Canal located, bisecting the site where it does, we did work with the traffic engineer very closely to determine if these access points could be allowed at these locations.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Councilor Stoddard.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Joe, do we have any plans for Homedale and 10th?
Homedale and 10th. So, Councilor Stoddard, Mayor, with the Verbena Ranch project at Homedale and 10th, they are constructing the signal. My understanding is they're well into design at this point, and that should be online well before they have any homes built and well before this would even be developed.
Okay. I'm fairly familiar with this area because I don't live too far from there, but in the morning hours when people are delivering their students to school, to the elementary school, I've seen stacked up from the elementary school all the way north down to Homedale. Not exaggerating, it actually was that way.
Yeah.
And also, I'm very familiar with Montana and Karcher because of the accidents that occur there too. And when people try and turn right out of the school zone there, to get on the Karcher and then turn left to go down to the boulevard, it's stacked up there too. And I just, between all the traffic that this proposal is going to cause, I would think that, first of all, I think it should be single-family dwellings, but with the safety and traffic for all those people, I would think that the council would maybe consider this after the circle goes in and the traffic light goes in on 10th and Homedale, and I know going east also past the high school, this is going to be a nightmare going that way also, not to mention north on Montana too. So, from a safety standpoint, I just don't see how this thing can fly with all those people being in there and not being a single-family dwelling to match the rest of the neighborhood. So,
Understood.
and maybe that's why you had a D or an F on the traffic thing. I don't know. So,
Right.
Thank you.
Councilor Williams?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Joe, I got a couple of design questions for you, and I know the applicant can perhaps address some of these, but we've gone out of our way to improve a lot on design, like the different roof pitches. And this one seems to be missing those, or is that one single roof pitch meeting our new codes? Because that's not what I'm used to seeing, and I feel like we're cutting corners again here. And then that picture right there shows basically a flat front. Although the porches are recessed, we've had to have different depths of building, and this is looking a lot like another flat surface. I'm not impressed with the design. So I'm asking you, is this what our design codes have required? Are we within what is our expectation with these designs and this elevation here?
Okay. Councilor Williams, Council, great question. In some ways, yes, and in some ways, no. It's smaller than you think in the sense of the length of the facades, and therefore some of the modulation that's required, it's spelled out within the code, does not get triggered. However, you're right, there are some flat wall planes. There's also, I would say the roof pitch is fine because of the little dormers that they're showing, because again, it's shorter than you might think on full length. But these are supposed to be conceptual. They will come forward at least with building permit, if not an additional design review because of where they're located. And staff will analyze them even more thoroughly. And if at that time they're not compliant with those minimum standards of the 1 foot deep wall modulation and things like that, we will absolutely require that.
I appreciate that answer, but at the same time, this is what we're looking at for our decision tonight. But thank you
Sure.
for that, Joe.
Okay, I don't see any more questions. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we'll move on into the applicant. Those in favor? And so we've got Tanya and Brent. So Brent, you're going first with the 10 minutes. Okay, very good. So just state your name and then you'll have 10 minutes for your presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. It's wonderful to be here with you, and we want to just express our appreciation for the public who have spent their time to research the project and share their concerns. And we also, one thing I want to point out is that something I think is very important is that the community of Caldwell loves God, and He has blessed the Caldwell community as a result. So just a personal thing I would like to have on the record. I also want to just note a couple things. At the planning and zoning hearing, Mr. Scott West gave testimony, and I responded to his testimony, and I was incorrect. I misspoke. The Highway 55 project was originally meant to be a project with median U-turn treatment, which means you could turn right at Montana, for instance. It was going to be no left turns from Montana onto Karcher. And then 600 feet, you were supposed to have a U-turn opportunity. That was modified after the project was bid by ITD. And so I just want to acknowledge that he was correct and I was incorrect. With that, I have analyzed the traffic impact study that was done for that project. And people will either do as Mr. West suggested, which would be select a different road besides Montana to get into Karcher, or they would have the opportunity to turn right at Montana and drive, rather than 660 feet, 2,600 feet, which is a travel time of about 60 seconds both ways, 30 seconds there, and then U-turn, whatever time that eats. This 30-second travel time is based on the 55-mile-an-hour speed limit. And so it'd take about 60 seconds to complete that movement. So, and that the study specifically references that that would be the options that will be there to people. The way that's analyzed is with a what's called a gravity model, which is where a computer simulation is used to find the least cost path for traffic to travel to get there. And so they have analyzed, they've performed that least cost path, and they do anticipate a 22% improvement in the travel times. So it hopefully will still work well. Sounds like it's, well, the analysis indicates it will still work very well. But acknowledgement to Mr. West. Okay. I'm going to go through several things very quickly because they are redundant with the staff report, which was great. Thank you so much to staff. The University of Idaho has had the Caine Center here. So this isn't named after Abel's brother, and it is not named after a wonderful Christian band called Caine that I really like. It's named after these folks who, after the Caine Center, that was a veterinary training center here, and to retain the memory. The street names are also sourced from folks who had a lot to do with this center, including Dr. Jim England, and who was a director for several years. And so we want to just acknowledge and appreciate those folks, and they would be meant to be memorialized in this development that way. I think Joe covered this. I'm going to keep moving quickly through this, and I'd like to hit a few of the council's questions if I'm able. Sorry for this distorting, but we did apply to the question about access management. The access management ordinance actually changed between the time of application and the time, well, actually I don't think that's right. It changed between the time of working with the staff on the access points and when our application came up. So we appreciate very much the work with the physical constraints. I will show you a couple of images of how we've addressed some of the concerns or questions that have arisen with access points. And then also maybe point out some things that may not be apparent from looking at the drawing. We do appreciate the client has worked. When an application is submitted, it is entitled to be heard under the ordinances that exist at that time. The staff said, hey, the comp plan is going to change. That's going to be pretty weird to try to do a comp plan amendment against a comp plan that no longer exists. Totally makes sense. Anyway, we also just want to appreciate the staff very much for their guidance, and also the client very much. The client is Royal Pro C, and they are all Idahoan developers. Idaho, and many of the owner team is local to Caldwell and Greenleaf and surrounding area. But several revisions have been made to comply, and we appreciate staff's guidance to make that happen. This was covered. The zoning designation was covered. Comp plan. One just quick comment. Compatibility of the area. So the cue for compatibility is given by the comprehensive plan. So when a developer comes in and brings a project, their understanding, the way that they're given to know what compatibility looks like is based on what the comprehensive plan calls for. And this project does comply with the comprehensive plan, including what Joe mentioned, which is summarized here on the right-hand side. Concentrating, and this creates a nice transition to the institutional use at the high school, the commercial uses at that corner, the busy intersections of a collector and a minor arterial road, and then transitioning back to the single family. One of the challenges that this just simply points out the zone designations there. Compliance with the city codes. So we did a lot to try to make sure we were complying. It took a little time. We made some mistakes on our first go when we went to planning and zoning on understanding all of the implications of code, specifically 25-foot buffer from existing residential and 60 square feet of private recreational space for each unit. So that has been rectified by changing the shape of the buildings at the south, and also some good suggestions from staff on modifying our parking lot layout, moving dumpster enclosures, which I don't think is a code thing, but it was a wise thing to get the dumpster enclosures away from our neighbors on the streets that we originally had there. Required open space. So you see our number is different from Joe's. That's only because we have included that 60 square feet as open space in our computation, and that comes to 20.65. So Joe's is without, and that's what it would be with. We removed a building, lot 27, the common lot in the middle, to make sure we had that appropriate space. There is a regional pathway connection on the between us and Verbena, and then connectivity within the site. Let's see how we're doing for time. I should have looked at the starting time.
Sorry,
Do you know how
it didn't
much
start,
time?
so 7:21 is what I wrote down, so you've got about 6 minutes.
Okay.
Still.
All right, thank you so much, Mr. Mayor. I don't have any problem with time management during presentations, as the council knows. Amenities. So a clubhouse, if you take a close look, the gentlemen that are in the swimming pool are twins. Just kidding, they're the same, just entourage from the CAD program. A pool, a dog park, picnic area with a shaded structure, large grassy areas for free play, a couple of fire pits, tot lot playground, walking paths, electrical vehicle charging stations are the amenities that were employed as recommended by code. This is just to zoom in on some of those spaces and where some of those amenities are. One fire pit in the pool enclosure and one outside, and the tot lot there close to the clubhouse, and also another fire pit down in the bottom right picture in the large free play area with a covered structure there. So one of the things that has a big impact on the appearance of buildings and renderings, we've been watching this closely as we've been employed to do this project. And if you keep an eye on projects there, probably the first and most important thing that is required by code is multiple architectural surfaces. So these have board and batten, which is the vertical look, hardy board, which is the typical siding look, and stucco finishes, which help create this employs stucco bands and then stucco on some surfaces to create variety in the architectural surfaces. And as you look at some architectural designs employ this well and some don't. But the architectural variety does help a lot with, it makes buildings, it can make buildings very attractive. And this does employ 3 architectural surfaces on each face of each building. One other thing that's important to know, when we met with the neighbors, we had 2 neighborhood meetings because we made a boo-boo on the first one in our notice, and so we met again, and we got some good feedback from the neighbors, also good feedback from staff. We eliminated the 3-story buildings next to the neighbors, and the windows are all inward facing in order to not have windows overlooking any single-family development, either on the south at Heartleaf/Arrowleaf or on the future Verbena side. That said, there's still all appropriate windows. The architect worked hard to put those windows together in such a way that it won't feel odd inside the spaces to not have windows on those outward-facing walls. Okay, and there's just a closer view of those architecturally, which I believe you may have in your packet. I don't know why that didn't come up. This is just a rendering of the development and kind of orientation of how it's set up. So you can see there the windowless side on those renderings on the outsides, and this includes only the residential portion, but that's what the development looked like. You notice on the right-hand side next to Arrowleaf on the south is all those buildings were constrained to 2-story. We'll show you a little bit more to do with that too. I believe these in your packet. I'm going to continue without doing more on these elevations. I'm happy to come back to them if the council would like to discuss them further. One of the things that is helping us on this site is the site lies at a lower elevation than Arrowleaf. Many of our neighbors are reside in Arrowleaf, and so this is how that shakes out. And a few of the neighbors were kind enough to allow us access to do some surveying in their backyards, which we appreciate very much. So the finished floors, we had done this anecdotally before, and we found that it's actually a little better, and this is in the middle of the space between Montana and the edge of the development, just to capture the average. In that location, the finished floor of the bottom floor of the apartments would be expected to be 2460. More important, the finished floor of the second story is expected to be 2470 feet above mean sea level. At the midpoint, our neighbors' finished floors are at or above 2470, so they'd actually be at exact same level. So it won't be like having a 2-story building next to you. It'll be more like having a single-story building next to you, judging from the midpoint. And there will be variety, some plus and minus, as you travel away from that midpoint. But commercial buildings, a quick answer, I hope, to the concern about Dutch Brothers, and our neighbors also expressed the concern about Dutch Brothers. We have a client, we have done some work for Dutch Brothers, and we have a client who's constructed several of their buildings. And Dutch Brothers will not come to this site because of the queuing is inadequate. So we would probably land one of the coffee houses or coffee shops that is able to fit here and not queue onto the street. I completely agree with a prohibition against queuing into the road and causing traffic breakdown in Homedale. We agree that's unacceptable, and we do not anticipate a user that would create those kind of queues, and won't be able to accommodate such a user. The convenience store gas station, of course, Joe pointed out the special use permit. I'm not going to dwell on this land use summary, but I do believe it's available to the council in the packet, part of our submittal, but it just summarizes all the units and areas and percentages. Traffic mitigation. So the question about the level of service F, you have to look at each of those figures. There is a need for, one of the things the traffic study found was there's a need for improvement to the roundabout at Homedale and Indiana. It needs turn lanes on a couple of those, basically slip lanes. I believe that is contemplated in the city's capital improvement plan already. The way we used to do traffic mitigation in Caldwell was build those improvements. Now the city has enacted impact fees, and so now those are handled through, going forward, that'll be handled, and this development will need to pay impact fees. Each unit will need to pay impact fees. Then at the intersection of Montana and Homedale, without improvement, that intersection is going to have a problem as well. But that improvement is in design, and it will take a period of time. We have to get outside of an irrigation season, probably too late for that this year. So we'll have to design, if you were to approve this project, we'll need time to design the construction drawings, work on the water and sewer connections. Although we do have water that runs through the site, the owners group, ProC, worked with the city and provided an easement free of charge that allowed us to connect Zone 3 together before I left the city, actually. That helped resolve challenges with Zone 3. So there's water immediately available on the site, and then sewer available too. We'll have to widen the bridges on Phyllis Canal. The project has also been designed to accommodate the roundabout, which would normally be that's some extra right-of-way. It's above and beyond the right-of-way that would be typical for the classified streets. To the question about access into that driveway on Homedale, we do want to prevent that from interfering with through traffic. And so this is just a conceptual design, which is a modification of the roundabout design that was performed by 6 Mile Engineering for the city of Caldwell, just showing how a turn lane could be put here. Furthermore, you can see the access, it's just at the bottom there. And the island could also be adjusted. What's very important with the roundabout design is that the entering chicanes are not altered, because those help create curves that slow people down. And another thing that the engineering department required in the conditions of approval is, in the meantime, before we're able to build, before the roundabout's built, if we have anything built by that time, we'll build an extra turn lane there to help separate that traffic. And that will help prevent right-turning traffic from interfering or from mixing, interfering with through traffic, which to Councilman Stoddick's point, we have children that attend Valley View High School, and so that would help separate that traffic in the meantime if we're generating traffic by the time or before the roundabout is complete there.
If you could take one more minute to kind of wrap it up.
Thank you, Mr.
Then we'll
Mayor.
get into questions.
One concern, pedestrian traffic. There are several roundabouts that have been selected by the schools as traffic mitigation measures adjacent to their schools, like the Summit View, and there's multiple other in Caldwell. But the important thing is that some folks have been concerned that, hey, are people paying attention to pedestrians when they enter a roundabout? Roundabouts slow that traffic way down, and the roundabout is the city's selection. I just want to defend it because it is about the best thing you can do for pedestrian safety. It's also excellent for traffic safety. Compared to signals, 78% reduction in fatal and injury crashes, 82% reduction in injury crashes to pedestrians. Also, rapid flashing beacons, this is one measure the city has used at roundabouts to, you can add those to those crosswalks, and they have a 98% compliance rate, so that's a very good measure to do. Lastly, Mr. Mayor, if I may, and then just underground storage tanks was an item of concern based on two issues. One, do they leak? In the past, underground storage tanks had a history of leaking, and consequently, they have become a very regulated item. Any underground storage tank in Idaho can be monitored by any member of the public at this database. They also have to be insured, so if someone does suffer a leak, the insurance company is going to immediately want them to resolve that because, of course, the longer it goes, the more severe environmental damage could be. Secondly, concern about the fuel if there were a leak. And I talked to the DEQ supervisor of the underground storage tank field staff. He said that that with the double wall, Idaho has required these since 2007. It is extremely unlikely. Now, what is more likely is an operator error where a fuel tanker driver makes an error and spills fuel, lets it overflow or something like that. But would water get into the Phyllis Canal and be transmitted? The canal is perched, it seeps water, and contamination, if the fuel tank leaked, could make it into the groundwater if it was left unmitigated, unabated, but it cannot make its way up into the Phyllis Canal because the Phyllis Canal is seeping water downward. There's a downward gradient of that water. So with that, I just wanted to express our appreciation, also our respect for the neighbors' concerns. We hope to be able to answer those, but we certainly respect where they're coming from and also appreciate them making time to be here to testify. So thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of council. I apologize for going over.
Very good. Thank you so much. Questions for Mr. Orton? Well, looks like you answered all the questions with that extra time, so made it up for it a little bit. Next is Tanya Orton. So you will have 3 minutes for your testimony.
Hello, I'm Tanya Orton at 17338 Sunnydale Place in Caldwell, and yes, I'm married to Brent, and I work with him for Orton Engineering. And just a couple of things I'm really excited about for this development. Number one is my children attend school at Middle and high school, so I understand the traffic concerns that do back up. I'm excited for the roundabout and the light that will help with that transfer of traffic, especially young drivers. I'm also incredibly excited about lighting at this intersection. In the early morning hours, we have early morning students getting to the school in the dark in the winter, and I'm so excited that this development will provide lighting and pedestrian pathways that are much safer than children just walking on that, just the edge of the road. The sidewalks, the regional pathways are going to be wonderful. So I'm super excited about those two things. The other thing I just wanted to mention is that we have a great example in Nampa of a gas station on a corner by a high school, and it's on Amity and, it's Columbia High School, that corner on Amity. You've got a gas station right there, you've got access points that are right off of that roundabout, and it works. And so I'm in favor of this project. Thanks.
Good. Thanks so much. Okay. So Danny Pruitt had signed up in favor but not to speak. And same with Jason Miller. Dave Orton. So then you'll have 3 minutes as well. Then you can stand for any questions.
My name is Dave Orton. Yes, the Ortons are here. I'm Brent's older brother, and I work with him. And I've lived in Canyon County in Nampa since, at 3706 South Twin Springs Way in Nampa, since 2011. And I have a great deal of empathy for the neighbors because when I first moved to Canyon County, I had a splendid view of Bogus Basin, a splendid, beautiful sunrises, and then the neighbor, and I was backed up to a field, and then the developers came in and they came and shared that they were going to be building in that field. And I had a lot of concerns, additional traffic, students were right next to a school, additional noise, being surrounded by new Idahoans, and reduced home values. And what happened was that with the growth of those additional 300 houses, yes, I did lose my beautiful views, except on my second story. I could still see the mountains from the second story. We did have more traffic. The flashing light crosswalks were installed near our schools, which have been amazing. It's really, really took care of our children. And there was, we are surrounded by new friends, as I call them, new Idahoans who are now mostly our friends. And instead of our home values going down and the feel of the neighborhood going down, it rose dramatically. A rising tide raises all boats. And Caldwell is a rising tide. I did want to address one other thing here. My wife is disabled, so is my son. He has autism. My wife has type 1 diabetes. And 11.5% of the citizens of Caldwell are also disabled. They deal with disability. That's 8,500 residents of this town. We have in Caldwell, based on a quick internet search, about 130 wheelchair accessible apartments for that 8,500 population. And granted, not all of the people with disabilities require wheelchairs. One of the things to take into account is that this will increase the total number of accessible housing units in Caldwell by about 30%. We're adding 44 additional ADA units, and that is a significant impact to the 8,500 citizens who are served by the Americans with Disabilities Act. So I am in favor of this. Thank you very much, Mayor and City Council, for your time.
Very good, thank you. Any questions? Okay, very good, thank you so much. So there's nobody signed up in neutral, so we'll go to those in opposition. And again, these would be those ones that were listed on the audience participation, so now is your chance to be able to speak. So Dan Diaz is up first, so Dan, if you'll come forward, and you will have 3 minutes for your testimony.
Great, thank you. My name is Dan Diaz. I live at 1220 Talon Court here in Caldwell.
So do you mind waiting for 1 second? It looks like we got some handouts coming out, so that way just everybody can have it before your time starts. So
Oh, okay.
take
That's
advantage
great.
of
Thank
that,
you.
so.
Last time it started as I was handing it out,
Yes,
so I
we'll
appreciate
wait,
that.
so.
Thank you.
Okay, very good. Go right ahead, and your 3 minutes will start.
Okay, great.
now.
Thank you. What he's handing out is actually 4 different gas station failures of these newer tanks that were supposedly put in or are put in from 2007 with the new tanks, new sensors, new everything, and they failed horribly, okay? There's one that they estimated lost 31,000 gallons of fuel. There's another one in there it's in metric, but it's actually 26,000 gallons. Another one 4,500, and another one at 2,000. Okay, so these had all the modern sensors, all the modern everything, and they failed. My concern is that if we put one in there right next to the canal, it's going to leak and possibly get into the canal and carry it all downstream. Okay, he put up a slide that said there's pressure and it wouldn't happen, blah, blah, blah. Well, this is a seasonal canal, so in the wintertime, there is no water pressure there. Okay, so it's going to continue to move into the canal. My concern is for the environment and for us for spraying this on each and every lot that is downstream, okay? So that is my biggest concern, are these things leaking. There's all kinds of things that are out of our control that can happen. Everything from earthquakes to manufacturer defects, installation errors, software hacks, software viruses, because these are all computer controlled. And those failed. Please read those. And I hope you guys looked at some other ones, because those are just a few of them, okay? The minimum amount of tanks that they're going to be able to put in, minimum, is 3 12,000-gallon tanks. The smallest that they make is 12,000-gallon tanks. So there's going to be 1 regular, 1 premium, and 1 diesel. Okay, so we're talking about 36,000 gallons that we're going to bury right next to the canal that can carry these things off, okay? I don't know if any of you are hikers or go backpacking, but if you go to a wilderness area, you can't bury your excrement next to a creek this close that we're going to be burying these tanks. So that is my biggest concern. It's not like we are lacking gas stations in the community here. There are gas stations coming out everywhere, all along Karcher, all along U-Stick. We've got them everywhere already. And so is it worth the risk of this happening? Okay, because this is a possibility. Those are real events that did happen in 2023, 2024, and 2025. Okay, so this is real stuff. So at least to change the topic, I live in the Falcon Ridge subdivision, and I have problems currently with the traffic getting out mainly in the afternoon with the buses and such. So with their drawing and with the traffic stuff there going on, that is a true concern too. And I appreciate whoever it was that was the one that noticed that with regards to the traffic at that location. So I appreciate your help. I ask you, please help keep our community safe. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you so much. Appreciate your time. Scott West, sign up to speak. So Scott, you'll have 3 minutes for your testimony as well. And it looks like you have some handouts. Yep, go right ahead. Thank you.
My biggest concerns on the Caine Center development is traffic and a little bit of the parking spaces at the Caine Center itself. So as far as traffic, going up Montana up to 55 right now, it's going to turn into a right-hand turn only as we turn 55 into a 4-lane road. So right now there's a ton of traffic, and some of you brought up that you're aware of that there's a lot of accidents up there when you're trying to make a left-hand turn, but the majority of the traffic that goes up there makes a left-hand turn. So now with that stopped, all that traffic is going to come down to the traffic circle. So the people that are leaving my neighborhood, which is the neighborhood directly south of this proposed development, most of the people in our neighborhood cut through the neighborhood across Montana to work our way over to Indiana. So now that's even going to become more of a problem for those neighbors. I mean, we shouldn't really be going through their neighborhood just to get over to Indiana. But we do it because in the morning you go down to the current intersection with the school there, it's a complete disaster. Cars are backed up everywhere. So now if you look at my paper there, we're going to add, 1,019 new homes at the Toll Brothers development. There's also going to be an additional elementary school built up right next to the Falcon Elementary School that's currently just open. So there's not just going to be one, there's going to be two. And then you have the Gym Academy that's right on the other side of that. So they can't get out that intersection anymore either. So now they're all going to be forced down to the roundabout. So there was quite a bit of traffic that's going to be forced down to that roundabout, more than people think. The existing Valleyville High School right now, that's 400 or 500 cars in the morning and the afternoon. It's a nightmare on that corner. And then one thing I haven't seen anybody mention is there's a crosswalk from the high school to the Church of Latter-day Saints Seminary, which is right on the corner. In fact, it was in one of the pictures that was brought up. There are students that go from the high school over to the seminary every hour, 20 to 30 of them to go do their thing over in the seminary. And I don't think any of that's been calculated in as a risk that is really a high potential on that roundabout. And just with the extra traffic going through there, those students to me are going to be more at risk. I really want to get down to the parking. Right now it's really only 2.1 cars per unit. There's 2 and 3 bedroom unit apartments going in there. I got to think there's going to be more than 2 cars per a 3-bedroom unit. You got mom and dad, they have a car, teenager's going to have a car. We're at 3 cars already. So those are my 2 biggest concerns. You've got a lot of specific information that I wrote on there. I hope that certainly helps. Thank you.
Good, thank you so much. So Del Marco and JT Schramm indicated in opposition but not to testify. So that'll move us to Michelle, I believe it's Stanovich. Hopefully I got somewhat close on that. So,
You did, actually. You did great.
And you'll have 3 minutes for your testimony as well.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. My name is Michelle Stanovich. My address is 14566 Dartmoor Street in Caldwell. My concerns mirror the others. Mr. Orton the applicant made a comment that because it meets the comprehensive plan, it's consistent with the area. But this doesn't fully meet the plan, not just with the aesthetics and the roof pitch and the failed traffic study, but the shorter access points because of a canal. And I don't think we should put our students' safety at risk because we're building by water. Also, how does the emergency evacuation plan work for our Arrowleaf community that only has 2 exit points currently, dumping out onto Montana, which is already congested? Planning and zoning did not recommend approval because they do not feel this plan makes sense at this location. And I agree. Going back to the traffic study, the roundabout is budgeted for 2026 to be built in 2027. That study said it was planned to fail by 2028, and that's without this development. So I agree again with Mr. West regarding all of his traffic concerns and the safety for the student pedestrians in that area. I disagree that a gas station and a multifamily will raise my property values. I also disagree that a roundabout is going to make it safer for my kids to walk to school with all this added traffic and congestion. So I will end with the fact that we look to our community leaders to make sure the infrastructure surrounding our schools is safe, and this does not feel safe. And I think Mr. Orton will agree. God wants our children safe above all profit. Thank you.
Very good, thank you so much. And the last one was Michelle Bratton, and signed up in opposition, but not to testify either. So with that, that puts us back to Mr. Orton for your rebuttal. And then you'll have 3 minutes for that, and then you'll be able to stand for questions.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to start with some of Michelle's concerns first. Again, thank you, members of the community, for sharing your concerns. The roundabout question is maybe one that you could ask your staff about too, and there's not a lot of time to elucidate that, but it is the safest thing you can do for your children, for a nearest school. The incidence of fatalities with pedestrians is significantly reduced at a roundabout. Couple of reasons why is it separates that traffic. The pedestrian crossings are separated back from the intersection. Some of the concerns I've heard, which I don't think are invalid, roundabouts, there's a lot going on. In fact, they put art in the middle, not just for the art's sake, but to block the view of other things to prevent distractions to the driver. But it also lowers the speed. Those chicanes reduce that speed to where if a accident occurs, the pedestrian is far more likely to survive and completely recover. Usually that circulating roadway speed is typically 20 miles per hour. As far as, I applaud Mr. Diaz. That's great evidence. And I will just state one thing though, that contaminating the groundwater alone would be horrible, right? Let alone it making its way into the canal. I will say that scientifically, with due respect, it's not able to make its way up into the canal even dry because it's going to hit that groundwater. There's not a mechanism for it to make its way up into the canal and distribute that way. But we agree, I think Mr. Diaz and I can agree, it's a certain crisis if there's fuel there. They are required to be insured, as I said, and the insurance companies do not want that to become a big environmental disaster because it becomes expensive for them. As far as the traffic goes, just one quick point. Traffic is going to be more quickly able to create that U-turn by going down Montana and turning right on Highway 55 because it's a higher speed limit. So they can travel at a higher speed to get to the next half mile over and then return. There's a U-turn that will be allowed at the intersection. So that is actually a quicker way. I don't know that everyone will do it, but as you analyze that, people tend to find the fastest way and use it. So I think that you'll see, little change to the way that traffic circulates unless someone's already splitting the difference between, 10th and Montana, for instance. Let's see. As far, just one quick thing on roof pitches. One of the things, we did depress those roof pitches some, especially because we wanted to make sure that they were not going to be imposing next to adjacent residential. We're happy to receive the council's direction or guidance if you'd like to see us do something else. We're happy with that. Similarly with the architectural finishes, these will be very tastefully done with 3 architectural finishes in good variation. I would just say maybe surf the internet and look for some apartments that are similar with those kind of architectural variants and see if how they look. It's tough to tell from those renderings.
Perfect, thank you so much. Any questions from council? Councilor Allgood.
Yeah, Mr. Orton.
Yes, sir.
Councilor Doty asked about the DNF traffic study. And you gave an answer, but I struggled to keep up with your answer. It was probably more technical than I could. Does anything that we have planned change that DNF traffic study? You talked about that we have an additional lane planned at Indiana and Homedale. I'm just curious, are there changes that are coming that will change that traffic study from what it is today, enough to improve it from those grades?
Mr. Mayor, Councilor Allgood, yes, and if desired, we could look at the presentation. I can show you those numbers. There are mitigation measures coming for each of those intersections that are suffering from those kind of effects that will bring them to better than without the development conditions, and frankly, a lot better than that, which we need because some of them fail without the development. Homedale in Indiana, that one appears to be, we push it over the line with the traffic we generate there. Those need for turn lanes. My understanding, though, from talking to, or from the input of the engineering department, which they can correct me if I get this wrong, but my understanding is that each of those will have, there will be things that will mitigate that. The roundabout at Middleton, or excuse me, at Montana and Homedale, there are, if I'm remembering correctly, there are corrections planned for Homedale and Indiana that will rectify the problems there. The work by Verbena at 10th and Homedale. So the impacts that have been identified and bring those into Ds and or Fs. D is actually, I'll say Fs, and I think Ds too actually. We'll look at the numbers. Those are mitigated by the proposed improvements. Let me just get you to the traffic mitigation. I just have some database stuff here. So the way to look at these, as you look at these intersection charts, the level of service is all based on delay per vehicle. And there's actually a higher tolerance for delay per vehicle at signalized intersections. So an intersection that's employing some measure besides signalization meets a higher standard for delay per vehicle than signals do. The Montana and Homedale, this is existing traffic. So today you have Bs across the board in the AM peak hour, and you have As and Bs in the PM peak hour. One thing that's not typically accounted for is you do have a peak hour of the local, which is the school. The school brings a peak, around school release time that is not represented here. Indiana and Homedale, you got As and Bs in the AM and As in the PM right now. So then what you do with these traffic studies is you explore, okay, forget about the development. We're not talking about the development yet. What happens as we observe the growth trends that are happening with traffic, and what's going to happen to these intersections as those growth trends take effect? So this is 2030 build out background traffic, which means the development is, again, not considered here. Montana and Homedale, Cs and Ds. D is usually actually considered an acceptable level of service. I don't love that, but that is uniform nationally. In the AM peak hour and the PM peak hour, Cs and Bs, and you can see the seconds next to it. That's the delay per vehicle on average at each of those movements. EBL is eastbound left turn lane, EBTR is eastbound through, and you just kind of work the abbreviations with that similar approach. Indiana and Homedale with the 2030 background traffic, Bs and Ds kind of getting up there on the northbound, which is one of them that's impacted with 29 seconds of delay per vehicle. And V over C stands for volume to capacity ratio. And so that percentage, the closer that gets to 1, the worse off the intersection, that movement of the intersection is. So now as we advance to build out your total traffic, so we're again jumping to this projected traffic. What do we think without the development it's going to be in 2030? And now let's throw the development traffic in there too, so you can compare that direct impact. So Montana and Homedale with a continuation of an always stop control. We have a delay per vehicle that associates with a level of service F and a volume of over to capacity ratio that's over 1, so it's not listed. You can see on down the way F and some E's, and then we get into Indiana and Homedale, and you have a westbound movement is at an F, and the northbound movement is at an E, with the total traffic and no mitigation. Montana and Homedale with mitigation, which is, the top one is a roundabout. You end up with levels of service C and B. Delay per vehicle comes down to 18, the worst eastbound, 22 seconds per vehicle, still a good level of service in the AM peak hour, and the PM peak hour is straight A's. So the roundabout will resolve that problem in the 2030 traffic year. So that's not just our traffic, it's Verbena is considered in this, all of the known developments, and a growth rate applied to the traffic. And then here's the same thing with the signal. So I just want to point out, the signal actually introduces more delay per vehicle. And so you both suffer a safety impact from going to a signal instead of a roundabout, pedestrian and vehicular, and you suffer a higher delay per vehicle for that. Okay, Indiana and Homedale with mitigation, which that mitigation is right turn lanes for the westbound right turn lane and a northbound right turn lane. So that brings that intersection all back to C's and A's with one D. The southbound movement stays at a D, but that's considered in the city's capital improvement plan. That's considered an acceptable level of service. And that's the AM peak hour, PM peak hour better with B's, A's, B's, and C's. So, Mr. Mayor, I don't know if I've left more questions. I hope that that's been a decent explanation of how that traffic mitigation will help fix those problems.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Councilor Stoddard.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Orton, what's the AM peak hour? What, 8 to 9, 7 to 8? What's?
It's typically, they actually monitor for a couple of hours, and they identify wherever the highest, they take it in 15-minute increments, and wherever the highest 4 blocks of 15 minutes together occur, that's what's taken as the AM peak hour or the PM peak hour. So the monitor from like 7 a.m., 7, 8, 9, they'll monitor both of those hours, and wherever the highest traffic occurs within that 2-hour band is the peak hour.
So they're not there before 7?
No, typically not.
That's where the mistake is, right there. What about the PM hour? What's that one? 4 to 6, 5 to 7?
It's done the same way. They take the highest. They take the highest occurrence, and I'm there before 7 sometimes with my boys. There's not much traffic there at that time.
Well, I drive Indiana just about every day, and I can tell you a lot of the traffic's before 6 a.m. or before 7 a.m. in the morning. People getting to work. It's just, like I say, I sound like a broken record, but I've never believed the traffic study yet, because in all reality, what they tell us and what turns out to be after everything is developed just doesn't match at all. So, thank you.
We respect that perspective.
Any other questions? Okay, I don't see any. Thank you so
right.
much. Appreciate
Thank
your
you
time.
so much.
Okay, so with that, we'll close public testimony at this time. And then, as you're aware, with annexations, we do take that up first, and that kind of dictates if we move forward with the other 2 items. So with that, would look for a motion from council in regards to the annexation request, annexation 24-14. Oh, Councilor
We still
Register?
have some discussion, are we not?
So usually we go to the motion and then discussion on the motion. That's kind of how we.
Oh, well, I'm not gonna. I was waiting. Usually we have a time for council to discuss before the motion, or we're not doing that anymore?
So we kind of look for a motion and then have discussion on that motion. So. And if council needs to ask some questions of staff or Councilor Denver.
Mr. Mayor, I have a comment before I proceed with the motion. And I'm looking at this map, and I hate to admit it, it's the county map. And it shows everything that belongs in the city. And it delineates between any of the other maps that we've shown, because it shows the enclaves that aren't in the city. And really, with the exception of a couple farms to, it looks like the south, the only thing that isn't in the city is this parcel of property. And so if you look at even a broader view of this, this is, could be easily accepted as an infill project based upon how the development in the larger map throughout the county is. So I don't have any problem with this parcel of property being in the city, so I'll make a motion that we annex the subject property into the city limits of the city of Caldwell.
Okay. Very good. So that is a motion for approval of, again, this is just the annexation request, and then depending on how this motion goes, our final decision will move us one way or the other. So that is a motion for approval of the annexation request with, was there some staff conditions associated with that annexation, or were they all with the other applications?
Mr. Mayor, I don't separate my conditions out per annexation or not, but
Those can be covered then with, if
Yes.
this motion does pass, with the next motions on that.
Correct.
Okay, so this is just a motion for approval of the annexation. So that's a motion from Councilor Dittenber. Is there a second to that motion? Okay, so that's a second from Councilor Allgood on that. So now to discussion. Councilor Register, did you want to?
Well, my concern is more with the development itself, so I don't know if this is the right place for it. But I do have a question about the annexation. If the annexation is approved and then the project is not approved, then what? It just becomes a city.
Mr. Mayor.
So I'm looking to our city attorney, so.
Mr. Mayor, Council Register, I believe that the annexation would bring the property into the city limits with those kind of entitlements, but then the actual entitlements for the development are a different matter to take up. So it could be brought into the city but not approved with the project. And if Mr. Dotson has anything to add to that from the planning side, I invite that too, but I see him nodding.
Well, because I feel like it's kind of backwards, but I guess my question is, like, if we approve it, and then the project's not approved, and then they decide, well, we don't want to be part of the city anymore, because maybe we'll have a better chance doing something with the county, have we now just limited them from being able to do something in the county?
Mr. Mayor, Council Register, there's a process for de-annexation if that's not approved, or...
Well, that's why I feel like we're doing it backwards, but...
Well, the city can't approve a building project or any of these sort of development projects for land that's not inside the city.
Maybe we used to do it all at the same time then. Maybe that's...
Well, they're different motions. One's a legislative motion for the annexation. The second one is a quasi-judicial decision for this council to make. So they are separate decisions by law.
And and correct me if I'm wrong on this, but would it be inappropriate, because we obviously do know what the request is, if it is annexed, would it be inappropriate to take that into consideration in making your decision of the annexation, whether to approve or deny, knowing of what the proposal is, rather than annexing them and not letting them get what they're asking for?
Right. Mr. Mayor, because the annexation is a legislative decision, the council is free to take broader consideration than what would happen in a quasi-judicial, so the council wouldn't be limited to what's in front of them in the record. And there are criteria that are listed out for the annexation considerations. So, and I don't believe that would limit them knowing what's coming into with the plan.
Yeah, very good. And I think it would be wise to take that under consideration, knowing what they're requesting on that. Councilor Doty?
Also, I think that with annexation, that is the finding of fact, meaning you don't have to let them in. And that is the finding of fact, that we're not ready or we're prepared to bring them in under annexation. If they're annexed, we do lose, I don't know if this is the proper language, some control. So meaning if it does fit and all their finding of facts are there and their conclusions of law are there, then that's how you should vote on that. So if you annex them in and they fit all the codes and criteria, then predictability would say that you should approve whatever project fits within that. So I think without being annexed, that you still have some more control or authority over what goes in that spot. Once you annex, then you lose some of that.
Any others? Councilor Allgood?
Well, this just increased my confusion a bit. So, to be honest, I'm not a fan of the project. Them being in the city, the property being in the city makes sense based on what Councilor Dittenberg is saying, because it's the only piece of property there that isn't in the city. So to bring it into the city, but I'm not interested in titling that property to anything at this point. This just me personally. So do I want to annex it or do I not, based on what it would entitle there? That's my confusion. I don't know if council can help with that.
Mr. Mayor, Councilman Allgood, I think we might be treading into waters here where maybe we wanted to go into an executive session to give legal advice on what what could happen and what not to happen. So if that's something that the council would like to do, I think that would be appropriate at this time for the legal advice on the distinctions.
I think it would be, I'm not sure. I think go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, I'll withdraw my motion until after an executive session.
I just think executive session might be helpful because we are doing things differently. This has created some confusion. This is new to us. As we are evolving and growing and understanding these things, it might be better for us to follow our council's suggestion.
Very good. So, possibility, and steer me if I need to go a different direction, Mr. Class. You could continue this item to this evening still, to after executive session. We could come back, because obviously no decisions are made in executive session, so you could continue this to the end of the agenda, have an executive session after the last item that's on this list, go into executive session, get that discussion, and then come back and make a motion and a decision tonight on that item, or you could push it to the next council meeting and do an executive session still tonight and make a decision at that time. So you do have some different options on that of how you'd like to proceed, if you do wish to go that route.
Can I, you want me to speak?
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, I think we're already going to an executive session tonight. If we do that, I don't think people should wait for that. I think it should be kicked to the next meeting so people can go home. We're only on item 1, aren't we?
Yes.
So, not us, but so they can go home, so we're not making a decision at 11 or 12 o'clock tonight and everybody's home already. So if that is the advice to go into executive session, we're already prepared to go into one tonight. I would say that we continue this decision until the next regular city council meeting would be, and I can make that a motion.
Yeah.
And that, okay, I'll make that a motion.
Okay, very good. So that's a motion to continue this item to the next scheduled city council meeting, which is September 15th.
Knowing that we will discuss it in executive session.
Correct. Is there a second to that motion? Okay, so we have a motion from Councilor Doty and a second from Councilor Stoddard. Continue item number 1 to a date certain, which is September 15th, 2025, at 6 p.m. in this same meeting room. Any discussion on that motion?
I have some discussion. I'm not going to be here at the September 15th meeting, so I want to be able to say my little statement here before so that you all can remember it on September 15th. Brent, I really like you. I really like your presentations. I don't like the project, though, and I just want you to know that I like you anyway. I like commercial. I think we need more of that, but I think we need more safe commercial, and obviously I'm not a scientist, but if we have gas that could seep into groundwater, that concerns me, even if it can't make it to the canal, especially for the area right there. And I can't get behind 20 multifamily units. I do love the gathering spaces, but I do agree with Councilor Dittenberg with not knowing what the impact is there with drive-throughs and all that kind of stuff. Both Councilor Doty and Stoddard brought up the traffic, and I have to agree. I still feel like the best traffic study is your community. I know what, well, no, I followed most of what you said on there, but I still feel like when the community says it's taking us 10 minutes longer today than it took us last year, that's a traffic study in my book. I also agree with Councilor Williams on the design. I think that by not having the windows facing Verbena, it looks a little bit like a barrack, a little bit, and the fact that we can't have windows on the side to make it look like, that ends up making it look like a barrack, it just shows me that it doesn't fit there. So there's that as well. I'm a little bit surprised that the comp plan would allow that. The comp plan sort of assured us that we were going to have these new design requirements and it was all going to look really great. So I'd hope that kind of got double checked a little bit. Also, I know the schools have been neutral, but we also know that in 2029 they've said they'll be full again, even with the schools that they have now, which means we could be placing another bond on our community, which, well, we wouldn't, but the schools. And I think that's a really scary possibility. Also, even if the comp plan says that the multifamily works here, I just don't see how it fits for the reasons I just said. Also, Counselor Stoddard brought up Verbena Ranch, and we don't really know how that's going to work, and that is such a large development that it's going to significantly change the landscape in that area and what's going on there and the traffic and all that stuff. So I agree that we should be waiting for that before we are doing something here, because we can't really get an accurate traffic study and all the stuff until we have all the people there. I also know that there was some environmental concerns with Verbena Ranch, not in here, but out there, and I don't know if any environmental studies were ever done after, I believe it was University of Idaho that had some testing stuff that they were doing there, that there was some concern about that residual in the dirt. So that is also kind of always on my mind. And then I think that was it. So again, I won't be here at the September 15th meeting. I'm going to visit my mom. But those are my comments, and if I were voting tonight, it would be a no. So I just wanted to put that out there for you.
Okay, any other discussion on the motion? Again, the motion is to continue to September 15th. Okay, so with that, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion passes, so that moves that item to September 15th. And we're going to take a 5-minute recess. Very good. So we are back and live. So appreciate that opportunity to take a little break. And so yes, and we look forward to that discussion, executive session. We are doing things a little different on that. With the annexation requests, taking those up before. So we are back on the record, just so everybody is aware on that. So we are going to proceed, and we do look forward to that executive session on that. We are doing the annexations a little different. In the past, it used to be all together. We are separating those out where, again, as Oscar said, it is a legislative matter, so it is different in that regard. So that is the reason why we've done that, but we'll go into kind of more discussion on that and look forward to that opportunity tonight. And so with that, we are on to, we get to skip item 2, so now we're up to 3. And so item number 3, and this is another annexation request, along with a preliminary plat. So annexation 25-7 and preliminary plat 25-7 as well. So Joe, it's all yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Council. Joe Dotson, Principal Planner here at the City, 205 South 6th Avenue. Again, this next one is Hunter's Path subdivision, annexation and preliminary plat. PNC recommended approval of this at a hearing last month, right? September, yes, last month. The subject site is a 23.86 acre site located near the northwest corner of Aviation Way and Marblefront Road. The site currently has frontage along Marblefront and Lincoln and will have frontage along Aviation along their east boundary. There are multiple approved projects within 1 mile of this. This is not all residential. I've noted additional development in general in this area because there's some notable things like the Home Depot, North Ranch, as well as some, there's U-Haul storage, which is part of number 8 there. And there's some affordable housing projects, which is also 8 and number 9. Number 1 may also become an affordable housing project. There's been some discussion there. And then the rest are some single family development. But I just wanted to note that there is definitely things happening within a 1 mile radius of this site, at least to the south. Not much going on north of it. The applications before you tonight are for annexation of approximately 25.7 acres with an initial zoning request of R2. The annexation area includes the adjacent right-of-way that they'd have to dedicate. That's why the property, again, 23.86, annexation area 25.73. And they are requesting a preliminary plat for Hunter's Path subdivision. Again, similar to the last project, comprehensive plan designation out here is Neighborhood 2, which anticipates a variety of residential uses as well as residential lot sizes. And if they do propose residential, they propose it to be 2 to 8 units per acre unless the density bonus is requested, which this project is not requesting that. So I won't go into any more detail with density bonus again. The compatible zoning districts for Neighborhood 2 are R1, R2, C1, and PD, which is our public district. So therefore, the requested R2 is compatible with the Neighborhood 2 designation. In addition, the subject site is within an area hub, which you may not have seen on an application before. That's the little dotted circle around it. Those were included within the comprehensive plan to show an area that is encouraged to have increased intensity or density beyond the base. So again, 2 to 8, area hub wants at least 4 units per acre in order to have some denser development closer to typically commercial corridors, commercial centers, as well as institutions. So schools, which this abuts or is very close to a school, and as well as a city park directly on the west boundary, right? It is a city-owned property that is planned to be a future city park. And that is where the area hubs within the comprehensive plan are encouraged. The submitted plans depict a gross density of 5.2 dwelling units per acre, which complies with the comp plan as well as the area hub of the comp plan. And it should provide a traditional housing type of detached single family with different lot sizes than what is directly adjacent. As noted, the request before you tonight for annexation is for R2. R2 is compatible with the comp plan, as I already noted, and it does permit a number of residential housing types. Therefore, staff does find no issue with the proposed R2 zoning. The proposed subdivision includes detached single family residential homes, which is permitted within the requested R2 zoning. So looking at the comp plan as well as the zoning ordinance and zoning map, staff finds that the proposed R2 zone and proposed preliminary plat are compatible for this area due to the proposed transition of land uses and density from the surrounding development. The specific development analysis includes the preliminary plat. This includes 125 single-family lots that are generally 40 feet or 50 feet wide and vary in lot sizes. The plat also depicts open space lots adjacent to outparcels where feasible, which would be, like you can see on the right picture, the southeast corner, as well as the northwest corner where they provided open space adjacent to some of the outparcels. The proposed plat does comply with all zoning ordinances. The minimum lot size for R2 is 4,000 square feet. Their minimum lot size proposed is 4,360 square feet, with an average lot size of approximately 5,000 square feet within the R2 zone. Development is proposed to be completed in 2 phases, which is shown on the left picture. I'm not sure if you guys can see that. Phase 1 is in red, and Phase 2 is in blue. The development, Phase 1 includes both accesses that are required for fire. So that'd be out to Marblefront and to Lincoln. So as soon as they construct Phase 1, they're not limited on the number of dwelling units. Well, they're not limited to 30, is my point. 2.8 acres of qualifying open space is required, or sorry, is proposed, which is 11.7%, which is above the 10% requirement. It does include a neighborhood pathway connection to the west boundary for connectivity to the future city park site. The proposed amenities include a shade structure, wildflower garden with seating, multi-use lawn areas, and multiple play areas that include a traditional playground structure as well as some nature play areas, which are very popular and apparently, from the scientists, encourage better brain development than simple tot lots. The applicant has submitted revised drawings following the commission hearing that reflects the changes that were discussed during the hearing, both proposed by the applicant as well as conditioned by the commission, which is to basically flip the north and south boundaries and put the 50-foot wide lots on the south boundary adjacent to those multiple county lots and put the 40-foot lots up along Lincoln. These revised drawings depict those changes. The proposed development will have adequate site access and all utilities are available or will be available upon development of this site, and as outlined within the engineering staff report. The project was noticed, again, according to state statute. Caldwell School District, Compass, ITD, and Franklin Ditch Company responded to the agency notification. Caldwell School District provided general information on anticipated schools for attendance for future children, and stated the district can accommodate the anticipated children from the subject project, but noted lack of pedestrian facilities between here and Van Buren to the west, which is only about a half mile from the entrance on Marblefront. But again, to be clear, they said they can accommodate the students. Compass, which is our community planning organization across the valley, our MPO, Metropolitan Planning Organization, they provided their Communities in Motion checklist that does not say yes, no, maybe on a project, just gives some data on that, but it did not provide any glaring issues proposed. ITD noted the project's proximity to 2026 and recognized that mitigation recommendations within the TIS, and noted that they did not include any ITD facilities. They had no additional comments on that, so the ITD was fine with the proposed project and TIS. Franklin Ditch Company submitted bylaws, their bylaws for the project, and just provided caution regarding overall water usage within within the county. 2 public comments were received, I guess 3 technically if you include Demond, D-E-M-O-N-D, provided both an email as well as a letter, but I kind of lumped them together. They provided public comment following the publication of the staff report, which that's why it's not in your packet. Apologize for that. It has been provided to the clerk. I gave that late because life, but it has been reviewed and it is part of the record. They cited opposition to the project due to the following. Loss of natural habitat, a lack of green space in the area altogether, concerns with additional traffic from the development, and an increase of pavement that increases heat gain, as well as some proposed zoning not matching the proposed development. So I had talked with a resident about this as well, and I wanted to make it very clear. There was some confusion that the R2 zoning and the proposed development were not consistent with each other, and that's just not true. They comply with the zoning ordinance, and then zoning at R2 does not mean that they can then change the plat if both were approved tonight. There was some confusion there, so I just wanted to be very clear on that. If you approve the annexation and the plat tonight, that is what would get constructed in the future. Or they can reduce the density theoretically without having to come through a public hearing. They cannot increase the density without coming through a public hearing. So I just want to make that very clear on the record. There was very minimal site-specific conditions at the commission hearing, they submitted revised drawings that complied with essentially all site-specific conditions, and the only ones left are related to general requirements. So therefore, I will stand for any questions and ask that if council approves of the annexation and preliminary plat, that it be subject to the conditions within the findings of fact, conclusions of law, and order of decision. And I will stand for any questions.
Very good. Thank you so much. Councilor Doty.
Just two really quick ones. One, can you describe where the city park, where we think that,
Sure.
has that come in front of us before and we made a decision on that? Or it's just floating around out there, we might put a city park somewhere?
Mayor, Councilman Doty, I don't know if it's come before council. The city already owns the property. It's directly on the west boundary. Pretty much the top 2/3 of the project.
And so that's where the contiguous property would be?
Yes, correct. And they're proposing a pathway there for that future connectivity.
Okay, that makes sense now. Thank you.
And it probably came before council about 20 years ago. It's been in the works for a long time. Councilor Allgood.
Yeah, Joe, I'm still new to this comprehensive plan.
Yes, sir.
understanding. Is a 4,000 square foot lot standard now? Because we were 8,000 square foot lots, and now it looks like 4,000 is standard lot for, is that this is not a PUD. Is
Correct.
4,000 square, correct?
Councilman Allgood, Mr. Mayor, the R2 zoning district, the minimum lot size is 4,000, yes.
R1 is.
R1 is 8,000, correct. So with the zoning update, we updated those to help actually differentiate between the different zoning districts, because R1 and R2 were very similar, and R3 was basically only multifamily.
Okay.
But we wanted to expand the potential housing options within those to provide a different lot sizes.
So this would be an R2, half the lot size, roughly. But they still can't do anything but single-family houses, is what I heard you say a little earlier.
Councilor Allgood, if this project were approved tonight, that is correct, yes. They could not turn around and do duplexes on all the lots or something like that. That's not true.
Okay.
That would not be able to happen. But your comment about half the lot size.
Right.
In relation to what, I don't know exactly what you mean, but some lots nearby are R1, and they were approved with the PUD, like what's approved to the north. Their lot sizes are slightly larger than these, I think maybe 5,000 to 6,000, but not very much in different sizes, but it is R1.
On a standard R1 under the new comprehensive plan, what's the lot size
The
standard?
comprehensive plan doesn't matter in the lot
Well-
size, but the new zoning code would be 8,000, yes.
8,000, so.
Correct, without a PUD.
Right, so half would be 4,000.
That was that, if they requested R1, yeah.
Yeah.
Correct.
Councilor Register.
I have some questions too. I want to make sure I understand it as well. I sort of have along the same lines of what Councilor Allgood was just talking about with the new comp plan and zoning and all that kind of stuff. Right now, it's considered an R1, 8,000 square foot lots.
No,
No.
it's not annexed into the city, so it's
Oh, okay,
county
I'm
lot.
sorry. So if it was being annexed in as an R1, which would be our typical single-family home, per the new comp plan, the zoning would then be an R1 with 8,000 square foot lots.
So, Councilwoman Register, the comp plan doesn't tell you which zoning to pick. It gives compatible zoning districts would be R1 or R2.
Okay,
They're
so let me
picking
ask you this
R2.
then. This area is a neighborhood 2. So in neighborhood 2, does it say you can have R1, R2, R3, commercial, is it
can
all
have-
over the place?
You can have R1, R2, or C1.
Okay, so we could say that if they want to annex in, that we could say we want to do it at an R1, which is the larger lots, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and part of the reason I asked that is because we have had some problems in the past where we do the annexation, we approve whatever the project is in front of us that we like, and then they turn around and sell it, and now it's an R2 because we like this project, and now we've just opened it up to an R2, and somebody else can come in and propose duplexes that have to come back before council. But by that point, then the argument is, well, it's an R2. Right? Okay, I just want to make sure I've got that under my,
Councilwoman Register,
Okay.
Council, it would be much more difficult to do that in the sense of they have an approval. Yes, the zoning would still exist. Let's say they let the plat expire, but it would still have to comply with all the zoning regulations in effect at the time. And if at that point council saw a project that was 100% duplexes because R2 allows the two-family dwellings, you still have avenues to deny that request.
Well, I realize that, but that doesn't usually happen because once the zoning is changed, then there's sort of an idea of, okay, we've already changed it, so now we can
Sure.
just go into that. So just real quick again, looking at the map around there with some of the, is all of that area in R2 then, or would it just be this one? Oh, I see. There we go. That was what I wanted. So it's coming up right against an R1, and the only other R2 is south of there, right?
Councilwoman Register, yes, the R1 directly to the south is an RV park. R1 directly to the west is the city property and then the school. And then directly to the north is Huntington Ridge, east, west, I can't remember which one, which has about 6,000 square foot lots because they were approved with the PUD. So it's not
Okay.
true R1 lots adjacent to this at all.
But historically, the city has always been an R1 in that area, it looks like.
A lot of them are annexed in as R1, correct, yes.
Okay.
And I know previously R1 used to be 6,000 square foot minimum, not 8,000. So that's why there's a mix of lot sizes within even R1 from
thank
back
you.
in the day.
I don't see any other green lights at the moment, so thank you so much. Yep. Appreciate that. Okay, so there's nobody signed up in favor and opposition, but I'm pretty sure there are people here in favor and opposition. So they're all on the neutral. So I'm just going to go through here and read your name and just see if you are in opposition or in favor. And then I'm going to write that down. So I'm guessing Sabrina is in favor because she's the applicant. And then Karen Donlevy in favor or opposition? What's that? Well, depends on the order. If you're in favor, you'll speak before the opposition. If you're opposition, you'll speak after in favor. So you're neutral? Okay, that works. And then Mike Kaplan, are you in favor, neutral, or in opposition?
I'm not sure. Either opposed or neutral.
Okay, I'll leave you on the neutral for now, and if you need to change it, we can. Connie DeMont?
I'm kind of the same boat. I'm finding out a lot as we go tonight, and so I really appreciate all the information. But
Very good.
opposed to the R2, so I guess I'm opposed.
Okay, and then I think it's Sherilyn Hammond, similar, boat? Okay, very good. Well, that makes it easy. So Sabrina, you'll go first, and we'll go from there.
We ready? Yep, that's it. Hello and good evening. For the record, my name is Sabrina Durchie. I'm here on behalf of the applicant. My business address is 5179 South Boven Avenue, Boise, Idaho 83716. And this evening, we're super excited to present to you Hunter's Path subdivision. So that's first, let me welcome you to the entrance of Hunter's Path. Hunter's Path has been envisioned as a welcoming, vibrant, and thoughtfully planned community for future residents will be proud to call home. In designing and theming the subdivision, we incorporated layers of rustic charm, wood, stone, wildflowers, and evergreens to create a polished yet casual feel throughout the neighborhood. The site design features generous open spaces, carefully curated amenities, and a variety of well-sized lots. Together, these elements foster a robust quality of life and a strong sense of community for future homeowners. Here's one of our great entrances from Marble Front. This view highlights a mix of materials and a raised planter bed that will be landscaped to offer a little pop of color as you enter our community. On the second entrance from Lincoln features a beautifully landscaped island with an entry monument that mirrors the style of Marble Front's entrance, while offering its own distinctive character. The blend of natural stone, refined detailing, and seasonal plantings creates another welcoming entrance that reinforces the community's overall feel and look. With Hunter's Path, we are requesting annexation, zoning, and R2 with a preliminary plat of 125 single-family lots and 26 common lots. Our net density will be 5.24 units per acre, and our residential lot sizes, as Joe had mentioned, will range from 4,365 square feet to 9,205. With the newly adopted comp plan and zoning code, the area has been designated as Neighbor 2. The goal for Neighbor 2 is to serve major areas near major centers and activity hubs. Given the site's proximity to a rapidly expanding Highway 2026 corridor, with its growing concentration of commercial and industrial employment centers, we feel that Hunter's Path will help meet the critical need for residential housing in this area of Caldwell. Our community will offer a well-balanced array of mid-density housing options that complements the city's long-term comprehensive plan goals. And as Joe mentioned, this is in an area hub in your comprehensive plan because of its close proximity to the schools, the planned future park, and has been slated for higher density to support and complement those surrounding land uses. Our proposal provides a 5.24 dwelling units per acre, and we feel that this aligns and complements the comp plan and nearby area while ensuring we're not introducing an overly dense product for the surrounding area. I know the area hub's minimum density is 4 dwelling units per acre, and that's one of the reasons why we did select the R2. Now, to better understand how the site fits into the broader area, let's take a look at the surrounding context in detail. The site is bordered by Huntington Ridge Phases 1 and 2, and Phase 2 is currently under construction. Directly north within Phase 2, we're matching their 4,200 square foot lots that are currently being built. We also have Mosaic's Public School, that is to the northwest. To the east, we have unincorporated county parcels. And to the south, we have several single-family residential subdivisions, including Voyage Crossing, Montecito Park, and Marble Valley. Directly adjacent to the south is Sun Creek Point RV Park. This has a total of 225 RV slips on 30 acres, and that density, gross density, would be 7.5 units per acre. And to the west, we have Van Buren Elementary School and a future city park, as you guys have been discussing. In addition to the west, we have El Monterey subdivision for a total of 122 units and a gross density of 5.99 dwelling units per acre. Hunter's Path, we feel, is strategically located among established residential neighborhoods, schools, and a planned community park. Our vision for the subdivision is to really try to create a seamless extension of the existing community and really complementing and enhancing the area. As for utilities, we are near or adjacent to the site. Water will be provided for Lincoln Road, there's a water main, as well as sewer, there's an existing manhole. And pressurized irrigation will be provided and connected to the existing pump house that is built in Huntington Ridge. As Joe had noted, we are planning to construct in 2 phases, which will be determined by market conditions as far as timing. However, we're estimating Phase 1 construction to start in fall of 2026 or early spring of 2027. A neighborhood meeting was held on May 12th at the Van Buren Elementary School. During this meeting, neighbors expressed concern regarding their irrigation water. Now, while Idaho State Code requires all developers to convey the existing water rights to each water user, we wanted to alleviate their concerns, so we conducted 3 on-site meetings with the neighbors focused specifically on irrigation water conveyance to help create a design that works for everyone. So based on the information and data collected with the site visits, information from Pioneer Irrigation, IDWR, our engineers were able to do a tentative irrigation plan. And we're still working on the plan. Nothing's finalized. Once construction plans have started and we do a full water modeling of the system, this will be provided to Pioneer Irrigation, to Caldwell, and for the neighbors to review as well. So let's talk about open space. In every community I design, usable open space is a top priority, for it sets the foundation for our community's amenities, pathways, and interconnectivity that really makes this community special. And we have designed 2.80 acres of qualified open space, which represents 11.74% of the site. Pathway and connectivity and walkability is also a priority, as seen in our pathway exhibit. Purple will depict our community sidewalks. Orange depicts our micro pathways that really fan out throughout the site. And green illustrates our 8-foot community pathway that provides connection from the east to the west of the site. In addition to the pathways highlighted on the previous slide, we'll provide a pathway to the west connecting to the proposed future city park. This connection will offer a safe, open view fencing to ensure a safe route for residents and especially children to potentially access both Van Buren Elementary and Mosaics Public School once the park is developed.
I'm going to stop you real quick.
Yeah.
Can we make sure that doesn't turn off? Can we hit the OK
Oh.
on the remote? The TV above you is about to turn off.
Oh, is it?
and
Okay.
I just don't want it to. If we have the remote, is it one of those right up there? It feels like it's Mission Impossible with 10 seconds to go. Oh, 3 seconds and you got it.
We made it awesome. Good
That was
job.
just like Tom Cruise. Nice job.
And I'm almost done.
Okay, sorry to interrupt you. I just
Yes,
didn't want
no
it to shut off.
problem, no problem. Hunter's Path has been designed to include 3 pocket parks within the community, and this slide shows each park's location. Our first park will serve as the focal point for Hunter's Path. We have thoughtfully designed the space that encourages connection, activity, and outdoor engagement among the residents. Key features include a shade structure with a picnic area. Active component, our community will provide playground and play logs with 2 distinct play areas and bike parking with some comfortable seating for parents to supervise and relax. And I do want to note that we made some slight adjustments to our amenities. We originally had the playground shifted to the east and the adjacent neighbors to the south requested we flip the amenities so that the covered picnic area was directly behind their parcel. And we were happy to accommodate that request, and I had the renderings updated to reflect those changes. Here is another picture of the main entrance into the park, illustrating all the amenities that I just previously outlined. So Park 2 is envisioned as a peaceful wildflower pollinator garden, providing residents with a kind of a tranquil sanctuary area to sit. And at its heart, the park will feature a centralized seating area, thoughtfully arranged with natural boulders, surrounded by vibrant native wildflowers. Here's another view of the beautiful park. So with each development I help design, we always try to incorporate an active recreation component that our first park showed, and then a more passive, quiet area seen in our second park. This really ensures that residents have diverse outdoor environments that cater to both recreation and peaceful, quiet settings. Park 3 is designed as a more passive space, featuring a versatile multi-use lawn that can accommodate a variety of informal activities, comfortable seating, and will be provided so for residents to enjoy. And then just to quickly summarize, we feel that Hunter's Path is thoughtfully planned quality community to offer a blend of rustic charm and modern livability. Situated near major commercial and employment hubs, it provides a well-rounded selection of mid-density housing options to meet the needs of the growing population. Hunter's Path is designed for connectivity and a quality of life with open spaces, amenities, and safe pathways linking to schools and a future park. The neighborhood will be vibrant, welcoming, and really help support Caldwell's long-term vision of growth and livability. And with that, I'd like to sincerely thank city staff for their guidance and support throughout the process. We're in full agreement with the staff's findings. And on that note, I'd like to thank you all for your time, your thoughtful consideration, and the opportunity to present our project to you this evening. And I'll stand for any questions you have.
Perfect. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. And I
Thank you.
apologize again for
It's
interrupting
okay, no.
you. Once it goes off, it's really hard to get back on. So,
Good catch.
Councilor Stoddard.
Mr. Mayor, Sabrina, what kind of prices are we going to look at relative to the smaller lots to the larger lots? Have any idea? Price range of the homes?
Yeah, Mayor, council member. So I think that we're planning on having these more entry level, so probably be 350 to 400,000. Again, I'm not a realtor or broker. The developer's here, that he can maybe better answer that question. But I think that's the target market that they're going to be looking towards.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Councilor Allgood.
Yes, Sabrina. So this is kind of an odd-shaped piece. There's a lot of out parcels all the way around it. So is it going to be like curb gutter sidewalk for a short distance on the exterior of these and then nothing? And is it, Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Yeah,
of
you pulled
course.
up the perfect slide.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
why, well, you're talking, Mayor, Councilmember Allgood. So in the staff report, they have picked out parcels that we're going to have to do improvements in front of, even though they're not part of our development. And as long as, and I'm looking at Haley, as long as the right-of-way is attained, then we will be putting that in. Because, yeah, it is kind of an awkward shape due to some of the county out parcels. So we, and again,
So-
we're in agreement with that.
So some of these you will be adding?
Yes, yes.
So it's not just little pieces?
Yes, correct,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay, all right, thank you.
You're welcome, thank you.
Any other questions this time? Okay. I do
Okay.
not see any.
Thank
Thank you
you,
so
everyone.
much. Okay, so we're going to start at the top and work our way down. So Karen Dunleavy, so you are first. So you will have 3 minutes for your testimony and then to stand for any questions.
Yeah, I just had some concerns about the irrigation because I have one of the oldest homes ever built on Marble Front Road and is completely reliant on the irrigation system. And I was just sort of surprised at the last meeting that we were asked to give easements through our lots for irrigation to run. But it turns out in my case, because of when we finally figured out where my property line was, I'm not able to do it. So my main concern is that we've got the irrigation water for the county residents running all the way through this subdivision, and that there is that the plans in place will accommodate it, because we haven't actually finalized how it's all going to work, as Sabrina, she's been very helpful about it, but we still don't quite know how it's all going to run. And I understand now that maintenance of the line will be the liability of the housing association should there be any problems with it, which there shouldn't be for a very long time. But are the necessary easements in place with this, whatever you're approving, to, service this line should, I mean, this was my understanding based on a discussion with Pioneer Irrigation and with whoever's in charge of water in the city. So these were just my concerns, that all this gets considered, now. I mean, I am in phase 2, and that I shouldn't be impacted by this. I have to give up my easement, and supposedly that means that I then have no further liabilities for the pipe that is going to be put in. It's going to have to go a very long distance through the subdivision, and to make sure that any other county residents who are hooked up to the system have no liabilities for any of the maintenance on the line, because by law, everybody, whether they want the water or not, do have to be hooked up. But whether they use it or not, just to make sure, that we're clear, because there's really nobody else. So it's not city water. It's not under the jurisdiction of Pioneer Irrigation, and I no longer have an easement that I must give up to maintain my personal line. So those were the main concerns, so that nobody should have any liability there. Thank you.
Yeah, so I'm going to ask you a quick question, and Sabrina will cover, so she's going to come up afterwards, and she'll be able to answer a lot of those questions you just asked. One question I did have, though, where do you currently get your water? Where is it delivered? Is it on the front of your property or on the back of your property?
It's right in the middle of the proposed subdivision. And it comes, so I'm right, I'm 3323 Marble Front Road, and my delivery point is, can I?
Yeah, I can kind of see it, and I've got your aerial up here, so it's kind of the northwest corner, it looks like.
Yeah,
Okay.
and my water comes down here, and that's my easement and my pipe. So, but regardless of my needs, still all this water and Sabrina and this information, but I'm just letting the council know now, because just to make sure there's nothing that is overlooked.
Yes, no, I'd appreciate that. Like I said, I'm sure Sabrina can cover that when she comes back up on that. So yes, thank you so much. Appreciate that. Any other questions, council? Okay. Mike? Is that Kaplan? Kaplan. Very good. So you'll have 3 minutes for your testimony as well.
I'm not quite sure what I'm going to say because it changes all the time. But I originally, this new subdivision was only going to have single-family homes. I think it's either 125 or 150. And so I'm kind of confused why the R2 is necessary, because if that includes another kind of size of the home beyond the single family. So why is R2 even an issue?
So that'd be a great question also for Sabrina to kind of answer when she comes up. I'm going to guess it's because of the lot size. With the R1 is a required higher lot size. The R2 allows for more flexibility. I'm guessing, but Sabrina can touch on that when she comes back up.
Okay, but it would, so I understand it would give more flexibility, but the flexibility would be, I don't know what the flexibility would be if it's just supposed to be for single-family homes, or what R1 is. And the other thing I just want to mention, in the design factor for all these subdivisions, has anyone discussed alternating colors aside from gray or beige, which are completely boring, and they all look like, and with the fences in front of them like an aviation way, it looks like an army barracks that you're driving between. And I noticed the other day that in the subdivision next to, on the other side of where the hospital is going, there were homes that had pale yellow color, which were much more attractive. And I think there should be an option of like 4 or 5 different colors that people can choose from, and in different spaces, because it would be much more, I just think it would be much healthier.
Very good. And those are some questions. She's taking lots of notes, I can see, so she'll be able to address those. Connie Demond? And you'll have 3 minutes as well.
All right,
So,
thank you very much.
yes, good to see you.
Connie DeMond, and I live at 3313 Marblefront Road. We bought that property, my husband and I, along with Roger and Donna Goff, back in 1989. So it's a little bit personal to me. This subdivision used to be our property. So that's why I just want to make sure for everyone around that it's done well. And of course, as we've talked about tonight, safety is such a huge concern when I look at Marblefront Road, Lincoln Road. Neither one of those roads are thoroughfares. They tee up with other roads, like Middleton Road with Lincoln. The backup now that I see is horrendous. I put the trash out this morning and almost got hit by a truck. With the truck traffic on Marblefront Road right now is just amazing compared to what it used to be with all the subdivisions going in. So the density problem, I guess, is what I'm asking to look at, because with it being an R2, that's going to be so many more people and so many more homes, I would expect. And when we first sold it, our understanding was it would be an R1, and I think it was to begin with. And that's where I feel a little misled that this happened, and I don't know how I missed it, but evidently we did. So at the end of the day, I don't know what the plan is for Middleton Road. I don't know what the plan is for Aviation going all the way through. That makes a whole lot more sense to me, that would have been the road to go through to the subdivision, but it doesn't go through. It tees with Marblefront. And so also Marblefront with that hill that goes up there, it's just a nightmare with school traffic. It backs all the way up past the top of the hill. and you just can't even hardly get down to the Maverick there and the light, and then you, with all the other stuff going on. But that's my main concern, is the traffic and the safety for people that are there, the children with the schools. And I just can't see that many more people coming in, or hate to see that many more coming in. Thanks
Thank you
for
so
your
much.
concern.
Yeah, appreciate your time. Brian? Ditto on that? Smart man. Okay. And then Sherilyn Hammond? And then you'll have 3 minutes as well for your testimony.
I wasn't really planning on talking tonight, so I was just coming to kind of be aware of what was happening. I think I missed the first meeting, which is unfortunate. I live right on Marble Front, south of Connie and Bryan. And I think our main concern is just, you know, anything can happen at any time. So what if that parcel did get, you know, not get developed and did get resold as R2? You know, I think we're just not ever wanting to see a multifamily right there in that area. So that's my main concern. And then the traffic, you know, eventually too. I don't know if aviation will ever go through there, but with more homes and more cars coming out of that section, it does get a little backed up. So that's it.
Very good. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Okay, so that is everybody. So Sabrina, if you could come back up and touch on those questions, and aviation way can get added to that, and we got Haley as well that can chime in on that and plan for that road.
Okay. Let me get organized.
Mayor, council members, Sabrina Dirch again for the record. So, real quick, so Karen, who, by the way, is a lovely artist. I've met with her many times, and the rerouting after irrigation, I understand, is very important to her. And typically, once plans are done, once the projects are approved, then the engineers go in and they start remodeling, and they'll start rerouting the irrigation line. That preferably we like to run them through the common lots, but sometimes they'll run in the back of the lots. And so we kind of looked at a couple options with her, and Haley can maybe discuss a little bit about, but as far as I know, and as Haley knows, is that with Idaho State Code, we have to deliver their water. It is required by law. So Karen and Mike, everyone's going to get their water. How the engineer designs it and routes it through the system, I don't know 100% yet. We vetted a few options, and so we do have options. We just haven't solidified one. And then Haley, can you maybe talk about a little bit more on the PI system and how that works? Thank you.
Yes, absolutely, Sabrina. Council members, so as the applicant stated, they are required by state statute and by our staff report to supply irrigation water to all of the existing residences that are currently being served through this lot. So again, as mentioned, this design occurs after the entitlements. Typically, they wouldn't have their engineer go and do all of this engineering work and design until they know that they may proceed with the project. Engineering will be verifying that during construction documents, the water is going to continue to be served to these lots. In addition, at the time of final plat, we will also verify that any necessary easements are recorded and properly shown on the final plat, so that these users will have access to any private lines that they need to continue to supply water to their lots. Pressure irrigation was also mentioned. There are a few lift stations in the area that we are looking at to see what upgrades can be made to service this lot. If there are any issues with those lift stations, we certainly can talk about adding a lift station to this property. But as it currently sits, there's a couple to the north, and then there's one just on the other side of the Van Buren School that I anticipate will be able to make upgrades to provide service to this development. If property owners surrounding the development are interested in pressure irrigation, there's also opportunity for those property owners to annex into the Caldwell Municipal Irrigation District and receive their water through that pressure system rather than through existing gravity-fed systems.
Very good. And that kind of answered the question I was going to have. So they do not need to be annexed into the city to be annexed into the municipal irrigation district of the city to utilize pressure irrigation. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
And then Mike, who's Karen's neighbor, he talked about multifamily, and I know that there was a little confusion, and especially for the layperson that doesn't understand the codes and stuff like that. R2, is that going to double the density? Are you going to have multifamily? And that is not the case, as Joe has tried to explain. The R2, we are doing just single family. We are zero interest in doing multifamily, and what is approved tonight, we're showing you tonight, is what will be built. So if that's a concern, or if a development agreement's needed to make assurities, we'd be happy for that. As far as traffic, so let me get the site plan back out. We considered aviation, taking access from it. But aviation's going to be an arterial. So arterials, really, you want to limit the amount of access points due to safety concerns. And also, we weren't sure if those north and southern parcels on aviation will ever get the correct right-of-way anytime soon. So we didn't really want to have an entrance point going potentially nowhere for a while. And so we felt like the Marble Front and Lincoln, since they are collectors and they're really designed to have those access points, would be better locations as far as access. And we have to have 2 access points, as Joe has mentioned, due to fire safety, to have, so. And again, with Sherilyn, she just really stressed on the multifamily, and again, that is not in front of you this evening. That is not part of our application. It will be single-family residential. I think that answers everyone's questions. I do want to note, my traffic engineer from Kittleson, she's been sitting patiently online, that if you did have any traffic questions, she'd be able to tackle those, Lauren would. And then just real quickly for my rebuttal, we feel like Hunter's Path is just not going to be another subdivision. It really is a community that we put a lot of intention and thought into. We feel that it offers the right mix of mid-density housing to meet the city of Caldwell's needs, especially since it's in that area hub that the city has designated. We look to those as guidances when we start site planning. Those are guidances that we base our information off of, and that area is supposed to have a minimum of 4 dwelling units per acre. We feel that it is appropriately laid out and planned as far as density. And we feel that the project really aligns with the city's vision for smart and sustainable growth, providing safe infrastructure and amenities that foster a vibrant and connected and livable community for years to come. And with that, I'll stand for any more questions. Thank you for your time and consideration, and respectively request approval for this evening. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Sabrina. Any questions for Sabrina?
Question.
Yes, Councilor Register.
I'm not sure if you can answer this or if you'll have to answer it, but if there's 120
25
homes on the R2, how many would you have if you had to stick with the R1 with those lot sizes? Do we know?
Mr. Mayor, Council, I can't do that kind of dimensioning on the fly, but the average lot size is what, 5,000 square feet? So if you upped it by 3,000, what is that, 30-ish%?
Yeah.
Less homes, give or take? That's just doing general
Mayor,
math real quick. but-
Councilmember, I would estimate at least a 30% cut.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think there's any confusion about the R2 versus the R1. I think that the concern, because we've seen it before in the past, is if this lot gets sold, it's sold with the R2, and then
Sure.
we've heard before that when somebody comes forward with a project, as long as it meets all the requirements, then we have to approve it. So for me, I prefer single family, obviously. I like the fact that it's in Caldwell School District. but I don't want to do the R2. So that's kind of where I stand with that. If it came in as an R1 and it was just the right amount of lots, or the right sizes on the lots, it was in the Caldwell School District where we're not having as much of a problem.
Sure.
It would feel very different to me, so that's where I
So
stand with that.
Mayor, Commissioner Register, do you think that if we had like a DA or something that really restricted that site plan, that this was what would have to be developed, would that help maybe potentially?
Well, no, because I
alleviate your
think you already
concerns?
have that if this gets approved.
Right.
It's a matter
No.
of somebody saying
Mr.
you
Mayor.
would never be able to sell the lot.
Oh,
Mr. Mayor,
So, yes, go ahead, Joe.
I wanted to clear, there is not a development agreement proposed with this. It is not required with every annexation. And so when, Oscar can scold me if I misspeak, but DAs can get legally messy at some point. They can also make things very clean, and therefore with subdivisions that are just straight subdivisions that aren't asking for deviations or whatever, we have not been requiring development agreements.
Okay, well,
So
even
if-
less security then.
If we can require, if you guys would like that, makes total sense, and then it would be subject to these approvals and these plans. You can add a condition that it can be only single-family detached homes, and then if it sells, again, the plat expires, they have to come back with a DA mod, and council has drastically more power to deny a DA modification than they do a preliminary plat. So if that's the kind of security that council wants, you can require a DA be as a part of this annexation. That's totally fine.
Well, for me, I don't like the smaller lots. I don't want to, so that's part of it. And then also, I worry because I've seen it several different times where somebody buys the lot, says they'll do something, we change the zone, and then all of a sudden it's sold and something else. And it's such a, I am a realtor, so as of right now, it's such a bad market that we have something like 9 months worth of inventory on the market, which is horrible. And what we're seeing is that these new developments that are coming in and offering $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 in concessions to buyers, it's making it so the regular homeowner can't sell their home because they can't compete with that. So the more homes you have in there, the more it's going to affect the little guy that's just trying to sell their house and make some money and doesn't have $50,000 to give away for buy downs and closing costs and all those kinds of things. So I would just rather, if we're going to do this, keep this at the R1 with the standard size lots and keep it at that instead of cramming a bunch in and then making the problem even worse. Dan.
And yet, so anybody have any questions for Sabrina? Counselor Doty?
No?
Okay.
Mr. Mayor,
Do you have a question?
I need a clarification, and I just want to understand, this isn't anything right now. We haven't, this is an annexation, so this isn't R1 or R2. This is nothing. So the proposal before us is coming in as R2, so it's not being changed to R2. Am I misunderstanding something here?
Mr. Mayor, Councilman, that's
Nobody
correct.
said that.
It
I
is
said
just
that I
the-
wanted it to come in as an R1, not an R2, because that's what everything else is. No, I'm tired of my words being twisted. So
Yeah, I'm
that's,
just gonna let Joe
right,
answer the
but I
question.
want to make sure that I'm clear, because it's directed at me. What I said was that I would prefer it to come in as an R1 as opposed to an R2, since that's what the rest of, most of that area is. So I understand what we're approving, although, as the mayor pointed out, we are doing this differently with the annexations than we have historically up until the last two meetings. So it is a little bit confusing. So, yes, you can go ahead and answer now, but I want to make sure my comments are clear and not getting twisted like everything else does.
Joe?
Mr. Mayor, Council, thank you. I can't speak to that exactly, but other people in the audience have also wondered the same thing, and I think it's a fair question. And that is true. This is not R1, never was R1 with the city. It's just a county property. If there was there is some history on the site with the county. There was a subdivision that was proposed within the county. I have no idea what that looked like. It was only on 3 out of the 4 parcels proposed, which I did discuss that in my staff report. Obviously, if it was in the county, it's going to be a lot less dense than any, well, not any, but most city projects. If that is what the nearby resident was referring to, I can't speak to that exactly, but that might be what they were talking about as it having been R1 at some point in the past. I don't know, but as far as City of Caldwell, it is not part of the city in the annexed land. Obviously, it's part of Caldwell, but not annexed land yet. So whatever they've requested is what's before you tonight.
R2. Did you have a question for Sabrina?
I did not.
Any other
I'm-
questions for Sabrina? Okay, thank you so much. With
you.
that, we're going to
Yes.
close public
Thank you, counsel.
testimony and then turn it over to council for a motion regarding the annexation.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I make a motion that we annex parcels number R35, 120, R35, 120-1, R35, 120-101, and R35, 121-02 into the city limits with an R2 zone as applied by the applicant.
Okay, very good. So that's a motion from Councilor Denber for approval of the annexation with an R2 zoning designation and a second from Councilor Williams. So with that, turn over for any discussion on that motion. Councilor Denber.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. So this is, I'm going to look at this from the 10,000-foot view first. We did this remarkable work to come up with this comprehensive plan. And one of the things about the comprehensive plan was we were tired with the variances. We were tired with exceptions and SUPs, and we were tired of all. So we specifically built in options that gave developers the right to say, we want to combat the sprawl. We don't want to do 8,000 square foot lots. We want to build a more dense unit without being multifamily. And so when Sabrina said in her presentation that this is a thoughtfully planned community, I agree with it. It is thoughtfully planned. This is in an area where there are utilities already. There's water, there's sewer, there is irrigation water. It's also not sprawl, and it does provide an affordable option for people in an area that, again, as I'm looking on this map, this county map, for otherwise practical purposes, is another infill project. Because we know Hayden Homes is developing the property on the other side, and if they're not developing it, they sure bought a lot of property next to you. So this is a good, thoughtful development, and I think we should all vote for it to be an R2 so that we can see this type of a quality development go forward.
Very good. Any other discussion on the motion? Okay, I don't see any. So with that, again, the motion is for approval of the annexation request. And again, this is just for the annexation. If approved, then we'll move forward with the preliminary plat. So with that, voting is open. All votes are cast. The voting is closed. And that motion passes with 5 in favor and 1 in opposition. Councilor Register voting in the negative. And so that passes. So with that, we would move into entertain a motion for the preliminary plat as SPP 25-7.
Mr. Mayor, I'll continue with this discussion and again echo what I said before, and this is a good development. And so I'll make a motion that we approve the, let me see if I got the right one, the preliminary plat and the, which number am I looking at?
So
The preliminary plat for the proposed development.
very good. So that's a motion for approval of SPP 25-7 as presented and with the conditions as outlined in the staff report. Is there a second?
Mr. Mayor, I would second it, but if the first would allow for the messy development agreement for single-family homes only, just to provide all of those assurances that that's what our intention is.
Mr. Mayor, I'll amend my, my resolution to include a development agreement with the developer that would include the development of only single-family and no multifamily on the project.
So that would be a condition that they come back with the development agreement
Mr. Mayor.
prior to submitting preliminary plat? Would that be the best way to do that, Oscar?
Mr. Mayor, I think I'm going to say what Joe's also thinking of. The development agreement needed to be part of the annexation, and the council just passed the annexation. So if that's an important matter for the council to get on, I suppose there could be a motion to revisit the annexation or to amend the annexation and vote again on that to include a development agreement. But we've missed the timing for the development agreement was with the annexation.
Okay.
So move forward. So that's a motion for approval of the preliminary plat, the second from council, motion from Councilor Dittenber and a second from Councilor Williams. So any discussion on that motion?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
again, Oscar, scold me if you need to. If we're past the DA, you can still add a general condition of approval within the preliminary plat. Not a DA, but still the condition that should at least hold some weight. So if that is something that you would like to add to the condition, staff can definitely add that.
Would that be something that, shall be in substantial compliance with what was presented?
Which I already have as the general condition. Condition number 1, I've added that and said that it has to be substantially compliant with the submitted landscape plan, preliminary plat, and open space exhibits. So if that is sufficient, then we can move on, and I'll shut up.
That is sufficient with whatever you said. I saw Ms. Dershey back there shaking her head, so you obviously understand what we're talking about, so there's no miscommunication about what's happening. We want single family there.
Perfect.
And you want single family there. Then I'm willing to amend my motion to whatever it needs to be amended to make sure that we get single family
Okay.
there.
Well, it sounds like I think it's already included in there for the step substantial compliance with what was presented. So again, motion from Councilor Dittenber, second from Councilor Williams, with the conditions as outlined, which includes the condition of substantial compliance with what was presented this evening. Any discussion on that motion? Councilor Williams.
I have one question, Haley. If we do require lift stations for PI, would the developer be required to pay for that, or would that fall on the city?
Councilman Williams, if the developer was requiring a pump station for their pressure irrigation system, they will be required to complete the construction, and then they will dedicate it to the city for maintenance.
Thank you.
Okay, very good. So with that, voting is open at this time. All votes are cast, the voting is closed, and that motion passes with 5 in favor and 1 in opposition, with Council Register voting in the negative in that regards. And so that ends, that's public hearing for item number 3. And just want to note that with the previous one that was continued, that did include action item number 2, which is a companion action item with the annexation. So that would have been continued as well, along with item number 1. So with that, it moves us into action item number 4, which is a housekeeping item regarding the bill and ordinance for the annexation that was just approved. So do we have a sponsor of Bill 45, ordinance number 3697?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
motion to support Bill number 45, ordinance number 3697, move for its passage by title only and approved for publication.
Very good. Do we have a sec? So it's a motion from Councilor Doty and a second from Councilor Stoddard for passage of Bill 45, ordinance 3697. So with that, voting is open at this time. All votes are cast, the voting is closed, and that motion passes with 5 in favor and 1 in opposition. And that now moves us to the right paper to action item number, so actually 5, 6, and 7 can all be taken up in one motion. So these are annexations into the Caldwell Municipal Irrigation District. So those can all be done in one motion unless you want to do them separately. So,
Mr. Mayor,
yes, Councilor Allgood.
I will sponsor Bill number 53, ordinance number 3705, Bill number 54, ordinance number 3706, and Bill number 55, ordinance number 3707, and move for passage of all 3.
Very good. Do we have a second?
Second.
There's a motion from Councilor Allgood and a second from Councilor Dittenber for passage of bill and ordinances as described.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
just to make sure I'm complete, I move for their passage by title only and approve them for publication.
Very good. Excellent. Okay. Okay. So with that, voting is open for all 3 of those items. And voting is closed, and that motion does pass unanimously. That moves us to action item number 9, and this is Bill 56, Ordinance 3708, amending Ordinance 3625, Bill 64, and Ordinance 3679, Bill 27, the appropriation ordinance for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2024. Raylyn?
Tripping over myself. This is also a public hearing, so,
Oh,
yeah. I have the fiscal year 25 budget amendment before you. I'll just make it really quick. One of the goals with when we do a budget amendment is to make sure that we recognize both revenue and expenditures. Either the revenue has come in more than we projected, or it's one-time revenue from grants. Same with expenditures. Usually it's one-time grant expenditures or unplanned expenditures throughout the year that City Council has approved through resolution previously. So there's a lot of detail here, but one thing I will say is when we passed the fiscal year 26 balance and the plan use of fund balance, it already taken this plan use of fund balance into account. So we're not going further use of fund balance than what was already projected. So
Good.
stand for any questions.
Councilor Doty, do you have a question? Okay, very good. Okay, and this is a public hearing item, and nobody signed up. So with that, public hearing or public testimony is closed, and turn this over to council for a motion. Councilor Doty.
I'll sponsor bill number 56, ordinance number 3708, amending ordinance 3625, bill 64, and ordinance number 3679, bill 27, the appropriation ordinance for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 24, and ending in September 30, 25, appropriating additional monies that are to be expended of $2,627,891 with a request to move for its passage by title only and approve for publication.
So it's a motion from Councilor Doty and a second from Councilor Stoddard for approval and passage of Bill 56, Ordinance 3708. Any discussion on that motion? With that, voting is open. And all votes are cast, so voting is closed, and that motion passes unanimously. And good news is, item number 10 is already done. So good thing we didn't leave Captain Rosen hanging for the last 3.5 hours. I'm sure he appreciates that. So that moves us into action item 11, the finance report.
Still August, my friend.
Stare down.
It's September.
August. No adult beverage yet either.
I move that accounts payable in the amount of $4,846,505.52 represented by check numbers 187863 through 188184, and electronic payments and payroll in the amount of $782,319.88 represented by check numbers 40077 through 40104, and direct deposits be accepted and payments approved and vouchers filed in the office of the city clerk.
And a second.
Second.
Motion from Councilor Allgood and a second from Councilor Stoddard for acceptance of the finance report. All those in favor say aye. Aye. That motion passes. That moves us into council comments, and tonight, Councilor Dittenberg gets to start us off.
I better see if I've got anything.
I'm not sure that I have anything to say. You caught me off guard. I kind of used the rest of them to kind of give me something to say, but I'm speechless.
Councilor Doty.
I'm looking frantically to see if there's... I'm sure maybe you'll touch on this, Mr. Mayor. We did already, but Debbie's retirement was great. Good turnout. A little sad, but happy for her. How about that? And I'll leave it at that. So, thank you.
Very good. Councilor Stoddard.
Nothing.
Councilor Register. Councilor Williams.
Just briefly, Mr. Mayor, super excited about some of the road improvements that we're seeing around town. I really like what was done at 18th and Montana. I think that's safer. I think it's clear. It's a huge improvement. Of course, 10th and Homedale are complete now, and they look fantastic and good for us. So thankful for, again, our street crew and all the work they're doing this season. Every season's a busy season for them. Quick question, and I don't know if you would know this, Haley, but we talked before about those school zone signs being changed so that the speed would be reduced when flashing. And they were supposed to be in, or we hoped they'd be in by the time school started, and I don't see them in yet. Do we know how we're coming on those? I know Mr. Mills is in here, and I didn't ask him ahead of time, so if you could help, great. If not,
I apologize, Councilman Williams. I don't know the scheduling for his department to
Fine.
go get
I
those
didn't
installed,
expect
but I
you to.
can
Maybe
follow
the
up.
mayor
We can
knows,
pass,
but-
I don't, but we can pass that on. and
Okay.
just reach out.
Otherwise, just super happy about all the work that is being done.
Very good, thank you. Counselor Allgood?
Nothing for me tonight.
Very good. So, yeah, it was great fun with Debbie. As you saw, we couldn't even keep her away tonight. She showed up tonight anyway, so we didn't have to pay her for it tonight. So, but it was great to see her. So, to appreciate the years of service in so many different ways on that. So, and that is all for me. So, because I know we got a little bit more before we're done. So, with that, I would stand for a motion to go into executive session.
Mr. Mayor,
Counselor Doty.
and then I need to confirm with Oscar, am I going to say more than 206D now?
No, you're not.
It covers both?
That'll cover
Okay.
both.
I'll make a motion to enter into executive session pursuant to Idaho Code 74206D to consider records that are exempt from disclosure as provided in Chapter 1, Title 74 Idaho Code.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion from Counselor Doty, second from Counselor Stoddard to go into executive session. With that, voting is open at this time. All votes are cast, voting is closed, and that motion passes unanimously. So thank you to everyone for coming out this evening. We appreciate
Mr.
your
Mayor,
time.
Mr. Mayor, that has to be a roll call vote for an executive session.
So does that?
Did it do it? Okay.
Yeah, it's on
Sorry.
there. It's on the screen.
It's late.
So.
I apologize.
That's all right, yep.